Tap and go with the Professor and Adara.
Thank you very much, Neil and Sean. What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as the Midday Show. That is your girl Adara right there. And I'm Sharif, and as per usual, we're going to wait for everyone to come on over from the other stream, and I've got some commercial playing in my ear, so that's no good there.
Love that.
All right, we got Matthew Booth. Ding dong, you're welcome. Come in, always open. Cairo, good morning. Pitchbull, Naps, JC Finance, and the world's greatest moderator, Bears versus Bulls. Even the Chilean Nightmare, Bing Bong, in there as well. I see you, sir. PB, we got Peter Panda, Sebastian, Stupido Bitcoin. We got Rodrigo Pita, as well as Mark's Trade and Investing. There we go. We got the Pawns. We got the Fawns. We even have Hold My Beer. Not sure why you'd be having a beer. It's a little early around here, but I'm sure it's 5 o'clock somewhere. There we go. We got Fiddleback. We got Stock Up. Sofa Monster. I see you, sir. Christopher Holcomb, ND Trade. We got Atif Tabat, PC Hoon, Pop, and Short. I like that. Nick Houghton. We got Jimmy J, Scott H. What's up, Scott? Haven't seen you here in a minute. Christopher as well as Paul Milligan. Everybody joining us today, couldn't be happier to have you on this beautiful Monday. What is up, Adara? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you this fine day?
I'm all right. I'm chilling. Everything's good. You know, it's not really sunny out. Weekend was good. Weekend was chills. How was your weekend?
My weekend was really good. The weather is really confusing in Toronto. So yesterday I walked to the mall. It's like 16 degrees. I made the decision to wear a tank top, which was like, you might think, hey, kind of weird when it's raining. But I was really warm. It was the type of weather where even though it was kind of rainy, you could wear a tank top and be fine. Not that I would recommend that, because I should have brought a sweater, because the mall itself was pretty cold. But yeah, the point I'm trying to make is nice weather, confusing weather. It's getting into summer, and I'm so excited to trade here today.
I like it. Dan.
Triangles.
Yeah, I know. We'll get to those.
Okay.
Dan, the man Emmons, says very astutely, NQ chopping through VWAP 500 times. I was just about to get to that, Dan. Let's show him what I'm talking about here. Fabian, this is the chart of the NQ, and this white obscure line that you can barely see because it's being covered by all these zigzagging wicks, which are also white, is the volume weighted average price on the NQ. It's hanging out here at 17,891. We've been up a little bit. We've been low a little bit. It looks like we were topping tail to the high side, topping tail, bottoming tail, I should say, to the downside. Very bamboozling, I would say, on the future today. So I'm going to steer clear until I see a good setup. I'll get to my trades in a second. But if we could just cover the big movers on the day. You saw Apple, obviously, with that headline. And the Bernstein nod up over 3 1/3 was up, I think, almost 4%, maybe close, when it did touch 176. Also, the monster Tesla getting that big, nice move up. That 185 was where everyone was looking. Beautiful double bottom at 185, having issues with the $10 level at 190. We're going to keep eyes on that. The pre-market high had us well above 190. You can see there we got into about 192.5 there in the pre. So we'll watch the stressful one today. NVIDIA still kind of having a little bit of an issue, rejected off that 877, which is the Friday close. I will go over some of the small cap gappers that I have, and there are quite a few, but we have this lesson to start, guys. We are talking about the gap and go strategy all week. We're going to be talking about all the different variations thereof. There are several. So make sure, if you are interested in this strategy, to join Adara and I all week. We think it's a very apt time to be doing this type of lesson, seeing that as we are in the middle of earnings season, and oftentimes we do have gap ups with the aftermarket and even the pre-market reporters. So let's get right to it. So the gap and go strategy is a popular technique for day traders, capitalizing on price gaps between a security's closing price. This is what defines a gap. The security's closing price one day and its opening price the next. I'm talking about that 4 p.m. print from the day prior, and I'm talking about that 9:30 a.m. print today. Those are the two data points upon which we judge the gap. I don't care what the pre did. I don't care what the aftermarket did. It's the closing prints that we are talking about here. Okay? Here's a breakdown of the key concept. So let's understand these gaps. We always want to define some of the basic terminologies first for all the newer traders. So gaps occur when the price doesn't follow the usual trading pattern because it opens up above or below the previous day's closing price. So there are two main type of gaps. There's more, but we're just, for our purposes and talking about gap ago, we're going to talk about the gap up and the gap down. So the gap up is obviously where the price opens higher than the previous day's close, suggesting to you that there is bullish momentum. There's a reason why we gapped up. Likewise, there's a reason why we gapped down. So the price opens lower than the previous day's close, suggesting to you bearish momentum. And thank you, Adara, for always adding these in. There is a gap up there on the Nifty 50. And if you're familiar with the stock market, you know these are Indian stocks. Okay, so there you go. There's the gap up usually on a bullish catalyst. We usually wouldn't gap up unless there was a bullish catalyst. Conversely, there's the gap down. We have the closing price here on the Nifty, and then you gap down on bad news. That's what it looks like on the chart. Why does it work, though? So the gap and go strategy assumes the price movement causing the gap will continue into the opening session. It is an assumption, sure, but it's one that's, you could say it's based on logic. Right? We have a bullish momentum in the pre or came out in the aftermarket. It only stands to reason that that bullish momentum continues to push a stock up. How we profit on it and what levels we get in, an entirely different story. So for example, a positive earnings report might lead to a gap up, something that you catch on the market recap show. This week we'll have Apple obviously on Thursday. You want to make sure you catch that. And then traders the following day, say Apple reports really well Thursday night. They're going to be very bullish likely Friday morning, unless there's something in there that prevents them from being bullish. So that is what we're talking about there. So how do you identify these gaps? Well, first things first, you need to get yourself a scanner. You need to get yourself a pre-market scanner, because on the pre-market scanner, like I'm about to show you, you're going to have a gap column right here. See this gap column on my pre-market scanner? And that tells you how much it's gapping up. So you can filter by what is gapping up and what is gapping down. Just like I can see my gap up today on, what is this stock? There was something there, 70 some odd percent. So look at DCPH, that buyout that everybody's trading. DCPH is gapping up 72%. That's because it got the nod from an interested buyer. So it gapped up aggressively. Something a little bit more, let's say, less aggressive, SLNO gapping up 24%. There's also HWH gapping up 22%. So that is what we're looking for. You need to have yourself a pre-market scanner. You sit there in the pre, you filter by the gap percentage, and you know what's gapping up big. And then you can look at your news blotter and figure out why it's gapping up. And then you can do your technical analysis, see where the key areas of support and resistance are and where you want to get in. We'll talk a little bit about that. But you need to get yourself a pre-market scanner so that you can be able to search and see what is gapping. So that's the first order of business. Second order of business, you're going to look for stocks with sizable gaps. There's no hard and fast rule here, but the book that I extracted this from suggested that it be gapping up between 2 and 4%. So that you could keep your eye on that. You could filter by the gap. You could, on my scanner, I can say show me gaps, show me gappers ranging between 5 and 10%. So I can insert that requirement. So that's how you identify the gaps. And confirmation is key. Not all gaps, guys, are created equal. Look for additional confirmations to confirm the trend. You want to keep your eye on volume. Higher trading volume alongside the gap strengthens the move's validity because it shows a lot of people are looking at. When Adara does the pre-market watch list, she's got one eye on the catalyst and the other on volume because she wants to make sure that the market cares about this particular catalyst. So you need, just because you're gapping up doesn't mean that it's not going to get faded. One eye on the gap, the other on volume. And then obviously you want to find out why it's gapping so you can make an assessment as to whether the news headline is bupkis or the real deal. So significant news or events released after hours can typically explain the gap. And there you go, another very good chart over here. This is where the closing price was on this particular name here, EA. It looks like this is a chart of EA, and then comes the opening print, and we gap up aggressively from 81.80 to well over 82.25. So that is your little gap up there. So what are the entries and stop losses? How do you basically trade this specific type of setup? So your breakout entry, you enter the trade after the price decisively breaks above or gaps up or below for gaps down a key level like the pre-market high or low. So you're having to do a fair bit of charting. So you opened up your scanner, you know that whatever Apple is gapping up 3%, I'm just giving you a random name, right? And then basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna chart the pre-market levels or the aftermarket levels if it moved in the aftermarket with the highs and lows. Just like I do with my pre-market with my small cap gappers, I wanna know that there's a definable pre-market high and I want it trading above the pre-market high after 9:30. So you're going to do that same thing for these gappers. You're going to identify the pre-market high or low or the aftermarket high or low started moving from yesterday. That is your first order of business. And then your second order of business is you're going to have to place your stop. Where is your risk management stop going to be? Always have a stop loss, goes without saying, to limit your potential losses. Place it below the gap for long positions on a gap up strategy or above the gap for short positions on a gap down strategy. So if the gap gets filled here, your trade is no longer valid and you should not be in the position, right? So that's what you're looking for. Does the gap get filled? Yes, you should be out. So you have to place your gap at a strategic place to get you out if that gap gets filled. Think about that all the time because you don't want to be on the wrong end of these trades. So how do you take profits and where do you exit? So there's no hard and fast rule, obviously, for profit taking, but consider the following factors. Your target price. It should be based on a realistic profit level based on technical indicators or chart patterns. Where is that key area of resistance on the daily if you're long? Where is it on the 4 hour? You should be charting that. Where is are you above or below the 50 EMA? Are you above or below the 200 EMA? If you're below them, you need to account for those if you're long because they could be key areas of resistance. So target price has to be based on sound technicals. You'll also have to have a good eye on volatility. You have to monitor the volatility. So in volatile markets, look to take profits sooner to secure the gains as quickly as you bumped up for the long, as quickly as you could find yourself either at break even or negative, especially for these small cap gappers that are around for a good time, not a long time. And your trailing stops. Sean doesn't typically use trailing stops. You see Neil employ them a little bit more. How you employ your trailing stops is, so many different ways. You could use average to range. You could basically use a percentage trail. So many different ways. Apprise yourself about the different methodologies to use trailing stops. Okay? But you should always remember the risks, especially with the gap and go strategy because of the nature of it. It's gapping up, so it's moving. I mean, it could retrace and you could see that whole thing wiped out. You need to be cognizant of that. So the gap and go strategy can be profitable, but it also carries with it inherent risks. There is the constant fear of the false breakout. The price might not continue in the direction of the gap, which obviously leads to losses. That's why for the longs, you have your stop loss below the gap fill, and for your shorts, above the gap fill. Once that gap gets filled, you need to be out. Speaking of gap fills, sometimes the price might reverse course and fill the gap entirely, negating your trade, and that's what I always worry about, basically. So this strategy is best suited for experienced traders. I gotta tell you that with intraday volatility, paper trading can help you, figure out what your strategy is on this and what methodologies to use. So hope that helps, and we'll be talking about the different variations of gap and goes all week, Adara.
Yeah, I think it's also like a great week to talk about it, as Sharif said, because A, we do have earnings. B, the small caps seem like they're going to be giving you some spicy opportunities as well. We did have quite a few small cap gappers and small cap runners today to talk about. So I think there's certainly ample opportunities to use the strategy in your trading. I do have a couple. I'm in my second trade of the day, and I'm going to talk about those in a moment. But first, I want to address some news stories. Shout out to Darwin in the chat for bringing up this Roblox story with Walmart. I'm going to pull up the exact headline, but let's look at Roblox's chart here so we can take a look at that Roblox and this Walmart store basically teaming up to make virtual e-commerce a reality. As of today, Walmart's able to sell physical goods directly to users inside Roblox, as reported by Digiday. So nice look there for Roblox continuing to climb to the upside. We also had Microsoft as well with a story. Apparently Copilot. I don't think Microsoft reacted as much as we saw that nice Roblox move up there. Yeah, Microsoft making Copilot available to all advertisers. So thank you, Darwin, for those stories. Right now, Microsoft continuing to curl down below VWAP. For me, though, today, the theme of the day right now has been chips. Instead of chips and dip, it's going to be chips with a rip, because I've been trying to trade these chips short. I had my NVDL short still in it, risking about 10 pennies, because I did like that kind of move up here. If we break into 37.10s on NVDL, I'm out. But I was really just trying to take the fact that we had kind of had this stutter step to the downside. I noticed we did bounce off that 9 EMA a little bit, so that's where I'm trying to get out. If I can take 10 pennies and I'm risking 10 pennies, I'm cool with that. Initially, I was trying to get closer to 25, but as long as I'm still trying to make more or equal to what I'm risking, I think I can live with that. What else are we? I do just
Bro, what do you even say to that?
Dandelions,
I'm liking
super
that.
chat. How do I trade the gap between my teeth? Maybe like braces or Invisalign. I don't know. But thank you shout out to Invisalign. I had braces as well. So yeah, shout out to dental work. I guess. Well, your sister's a dentist, so there we go.
Yes.
Shout out to dental work and shout out to Dandelion. Thank you so much for the super chat. The other trade I had really quickly, I'm just going to talk about before I throw it off to our pal Sharif, is SOXL. So I was super proud of this. This is the type of scalping I need to do. Like when I look at this chart now, I'm like, I'm pleased as punch. We got involved here. I was watching that 9 EMA hold, and I was like, you know, Adara, this could be a long, but also these last couple wicks were very bearish. We had 3 bearish candles in a row. Trying to take this. I took this right off to that VWAP bounce, and then I got out. 20 pennies. So happy with this trade. This is the type of scalping I need to be doing more of. Right now, though, I think we're going to babysit NVDL and hope this turns into an NVDW. What are you looking at right now?
I'm looking at the Amazonian right now. Nice looking double bottom brewing here. I'm going to risk about 20 pennies. So my out is going to be the break a low a day, which is 179.39. So the reason I'm getting into the Amazon is, I'm sounding like Obi, the Amazon. No, the reason is, for real though, there's a decent looking double bottom. It doesn't mean that it has to actually manifest into a double bottom. And quite frankly, if I get anything out of this, I'm gonna look to take profits early. That's probably in front of that 180 area. So look for this closing print here on Amazon to hold on the day. This thin one line over here at 179 and 2/3. That is Friday's closing print. We've been down here a bunch of times. We've held up, so I'll keep my eye on that. I'm also interested in this possible dip trade on Apple. So I love this pre-market consolidation top for whatever reason, 173.80. Seems like a bizarre level to have a pre-market consolidation top at that level. Essentially, let's see if 174 holds. There's the 50 period. There's the whole dollar level, but this is the level that I like, 173.80. Now, this could be the wrong level. 174 could be the level. We'll see. But I want to see if this top will hold here on AAPL, 173.80-ish. I'll probably set up a dip trade to, you know.
Bless you.
Yeah, bless you, Ram. What's going on? Did you need the reactant? I have some with me today. Okay, I'll get you in a sec. All right, well, there we go. We got some out there of the Amazon as it does hold that level. Now I'm going to be keeping my eye on 174 on Apple because I like that 173.80, but the market doesn't care what I like. Right now, it seems to be holding up, at least for the moment, at 174. What is the low of this candle? 173.98. So yeah, broke by a couple of pennies and then up about 15. We'll see what it does. But I do like that level on the Apple. All right, nice move up here for the Amazon. Here comes 180. So almost 40 pennies in the money on this one as it pumps up there. Good looking double bottom on AMZN. Don't forget, guys, this monster here reports this week. What day?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Thank you, Adara. Yeah, so this monster reports tomorrow. And yeah, we'll have to see if the consumer is getting squeezed, how cloud spending is doing, because that's really what we're going to likely hear from them. Obviously, AI is going to be another interesting story. Here comes 180. I said I'd get everything out at 180, but I lied. I'm going to hold it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Why not? Shout out to you trying to get that express delivery of profit there, beak wetting. Shout out to Sharif. Also, so there's some things I want to look at for people. We have IBIT bull flag, asks Mr. Long Shorts. So let's look at that. IBIT. Let's see if we can get into a bit of IBIT. Okay, I like this and I see where you're coming from. Whew, okay, I'm getting excited. Also, I got into my snap short, which I'm going to explain in a moment. So we had that nice little bull flag here starting 35-ish, 35.20-ish, going up to 35.90, so implying about 70 cents of profit potential on the breakout if you are a proponent of the measure the flag pull for breakout type of strategy there. Right now, though, we're riding this 9 EMA beautifully, seeing some consolidation. Yeah, I mean, you never know how things are going to manifest, but I will say it has the makings of the bull flag. The only aspect of it that isn't super bullish to me is the fact that we're down in the day. We know usually, and again, it's not always going to be perfect, but usually when you have these bull flag breakouts, it's going to usually happen when we're already up on the day. But we are in an uptrend, and this was a nice setup, so I will give you that, Mr. Long Shorts. I do think you have a nice setup here for a bull flag. I just want to concede. I think if we break below the 9 EMA, that's where things would get dicey for me. But right now, we're riding the 9 EMA, higher highs, higher lows with that bull flag setup. I say nice look. We also had Microsoft being mentioned by Kyle Burdett. This is a nice short off the 9 EMA as well. This is something I'm going to have to look at. I'm not trying to trade these super expensive names because I just went live, but if I can find a way to trade this Microsoft, thank you for pointing this out, Kyle Burdett. This is a nice move to the downside. Lower highs, lower lows, rejecting off that VWAP and 9 EMA area. Really quickly as well, I'm going to address the trade that I am currently in, which is the Snapchat short. Now, someone was saying, does Snapchat look like a breakout? This a little bit earlier. And honestly, what I'm seeing is this kind of curl to the downside. I don't love my entry point here. I think I probably could have waited a little bit. We're going to give this about 5 pennies because that 1480 area was, for me, an area that we had a lot of resistance earlier. We had these wicks to the upside that we really couldn't see materialize. So I like that as a stop. I want to take minimum 10 pennies here, 14.65, and I'm saving a piece for the dream. I have enough to save a piece for the dream for Snapchat. So I am pleased as punch. Hopefully we'll be able to snap a picture of a happy face there, and hopefully this long doesn't disappear in 10 seconds, or sorry, this short doesn't disappear in 10 seconds or less, as Snapchats are wont to do. There we go. How's Amazon?
It's really good.
Well, as per usual, though, Adara, we took out everything before it stopped going up. So it's up right now nicely, knock on the door of 180.20, so 180 and a fifth, making its way onto the 10 period on the 5 minute. So look out for possible resistance around here. There were multiple VWAP rejections earlier today on the Amazon from the south side. As we kind of tanked off this level. I was, as you know, I've been trading in the sim in the morning, basically trying out a new thing where I chart everything overnight, and then I come into the morning and I have my levels. These are my levels. I charted Meta, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon yesterday. I'm not going to chart all 8 of them every day anyway. So I did have some decent trades off that level today on Amazon for that 180. So actually doing it live now, we'll keep an eye on that. So Amazon, nice double bottom right there coming into 180 and a fifth and finding resistance there. So we got out of everything there. But there are also other ones that are coming into other support levels here. Now, I'm not inclined to punch long at lows for some of these Mag 7 names, but specifically, I'm looking at Meta and I'm looking at Goggles. 167 on Goggles just got broken. 166.99 is the LOD on GOOGL right now. A nice rounded top. Michael Moss would be, salivating at the short on this one. At least I'm just assuming. So yeah, nice rejection there of volume weighted average price and the 169 level it looks like. And what was earlier support there in the pre at 169, 168.90. Ended up being resistance after the bell. Love when that happens. Pre-market support flips to resistance on the flush, so keep your eye on that. And then there's Meta. So Meta and Google, very similar chart patterns today in the sense that the pre-market bottom there acted as resistance as well, so same thing, and it's down, rounded top at the lows right now. Meta and Google have very similar looking charts. They're also down very similar percentages, 2 3/4 for Google, while it's 2 1/3 here for Meta. The soft one as well has a similar chart, kind of down with a rounded top. It didn't make lows. So Microsoft is defending 400, and that was a key level that I had on Softy when I charted yesterday. So have a look here. Here's what I wrote. I said short sale at 410, long at 400, and I did take that 400 long in the sim this morning, and it printed decently. I think it was like a couple of bucks. Yeah, I got like $2.50 at the high there. Yeah, it was just sim money, but you know, it's good practice. Yeah. Anyways, these are all my other support and resistance levels on Softy. You can have a look at that. So Softy, Meta, and Google, I want to say very similar looking charts, even Amazon as well. So be careful that Tesla just printed a new high a day, so did come into those pre-market tops. Look at that pre-market top there at 905. The high there is 192.50. We just printed 192.40. So we're almost through that pre-market top that we printed at 9:05 a.m. Tesla, 14.25%. Wow, Elon Musk. Should have been buying more. Remember when I told you last week I'm going to start buying 2 and 3 instead of 5? Yeah. What a time to say that. The worst time to say that.
So you still have lots of shares though, because you were buying
decent, but I would have had way more if I was buying 5 at 140s, not 160s. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like,
hey, at least you participated. At least, you know what I mean? You did participate.
Of course I did. What's the look over there on your side? I like that short.
Thank you. I'm really happy with this. I did take out half my position around 1469s, not as a what's life without whimsy move, actually because we really were struggling with that level. But now things are coming in. I'm so happy. Please just punch. I want to see what we do here. If we bounce off the 65s, they'll get out here and I will have no qualms. I will be qualm free. I will be pleased as punch. Yeah, I'm just really happy right now. This is a nice look. Someone earlier, I think it was John Van Sowers in the chat saying, oh, you guys don't have any longs today. I know Sharif had that Amazon long earlier, but honestly, A, I am a little bit short biased, and B, I think there are lots of opportunities for shorts in this market right now. That's going to be my honest answer. But I see what you mean. Like, it really depends on what you're looking at. There were a lot of great longs as well. Qs are still up on the day, though we are seeing slightly a slight downturn in those. I'm still eyeing those for a potential short the pop type move. Also go long the dip. I have no problem with that, but I do think I am a little bit short biased, and if I find short plays, I'll take those. Please just punch. Took my 10 pennies on that. I got out because I noticed that we were kind of seeing a little bit of a bounce, and that was a massive area earlier, that 1465. So happy with that. I'm also looking at the SOX L, and the reason I'm looking at the SOX L is because, well, A, I was looking at it earlier, but B, look at this, like these 9 EMA bounces. To me, this looks like this could break. This could be a flat top break. We have this flattish top here at 40.15, higher highs. The only thing though is I'm always very cognizant of patterns on ETFs because they don't always come to fruition, right? So you do want to be very cautious, very careful, and make sure that you have everything adding up, all the confluence stacking there as well. What else is, there's something in the chat I wanted to look at as well from someone. Someone was mentioning, someone was asking what, please reiterate the moving averages you utilize. I use the 9 EMA and VWAP. I know you use the 10 EMA and the 20.
I use a bunch, so I'm just going to get to them super quick. I don't use them all the time, right?
That makes sense.
So the green, the solid green, they're all exponential moving averages. We're day trading, so I want to weight the more recent price action more than historical price action. So the green, 10, the yellow, 20, the white is VWAP, the red is the 50, and the blue is the 200. That's what it is. Those are the solid lines. The horizontal dotted lines, those are all pivot points. I may or may not use them, but I'm always keeping an eye on the exponential moving averages, whether on the 5 or on the 1. Tesla's absolutely flying to the high side, 193.12. I assumed that there would be a bit of a battle here at the half dollar, the 192 half dollar, because a lot of shorts, you have to make the assumption that a lot of people were getting short here in the pre, even though this candle at 905 only has about 518,000 shares. And I say only because this 5-minute candle here has 4.6 million shares. So Tesla doing shareage. But you have to assume, that people were looking at that level and could have taken options, 0 day to expiry options in anticipation of this acting as resistance. So I figured there would be some price action battle here. Alas, there was not. 193 got broken decisively. 193.12. We're fighting to stay above the whole dollar right now on Tesla. Great move up there for the name. As we inch closer to 200, we could see 200 maybe by the end of tomorrow. I have no idea. We have that, what's it called, the FOMC meeting coming out on Wednesday when Papa's going to get on the mic and we're going to hear market moving things usually. So anyway, keeping an eye on these names. I didn't cover the small cappers, so let's get to them before they all fade away and they're no longer tradable. So as I say that, look at that, DNA. This one was a big mover on the day, closed out at 86 pennies on Friday, broke $1.13, and now it's trying to hold up above $1. It is, though, below the volume weighted average price at $1.04, so not tradable for me. But for those interested in the $1 trade, either the break or the defend, it's at it right now. 101 is the price level on that. AGEN, A-G-E-N. This is a holdover from last week. You can see this one was moving from last week. It's at high day, Katina, man. 14 and a quarter. AGEN printed this morning. AGEN, breaking down below VWAP, trying to find support at the 50 period right now. Not tradable under my rules, and that is unless it takes the volume weighted average price at 13 and a quarter. So AGEN. The one that looks awfully tradable though and is pamping over here is PACB. It hasn't done the most amount of volume I've seen on the day, but the chart pattern looks awfully good. The volumes did drop off for whatever reason on these two candles, but has since picked up again. I'll be looking for something around the 160 to 162. Couple of reasons. That is the crest top there on the bull flag at 161, and then I also have the volume weighted average price right at that level. So if we do have about an 8-penny decrease, here on PACB, I will look to get long at 161 or thereabouts to defend that previous high. So PACB on watch. JANX as well, JANX. Look, they're not big, huge movers. This one's up 11.8. Looks like a nice move, though, off that 47.5 close. We got up into 53.80, almost 54. Now we're super sideways, for whatever reason, south of 53. So interesting here. 53 seems to be acting as a top on JANX. Do with that what you will, but it's putting in higher lows, holding the 10. So kind of two different countervailing points. And last but not least, Adara, MULN, I saw you bring that to us this morning. It's right back above VWAP here at $4, a little bit below, a little bit above. I wouldn't look for this one to absolutely respect VWAP like we do with some of these other small cap gappers. It's got its own thing. And then HOLO, true to form, Adara, Christmas tree retracement off that 310 touch.
Yeah, HOLO is just always trying to like hollow
Hollow out the trade.
Come trade me. Oh my gosh, it'd be a great time. That is the most bamboozling little stock.
Is it?
The amount of times that I see this on the morning gappers, shout out to Trade Ideas when I'm trying to do the watch list. Like, it is so often. Because half the time we'll tell Sharif, will be like, hey, HOLO's trying to move again. And Sharif will be like, oh yeah, because it usually doesn't move. But sometimes I'll say it. And then an hour later, Sharif will be like, yeah, so HOLO's up like 50%. I'm like, oh. So you really never know with HOLO, but it's always something you want to keep an eye on.
Yeah, why not?
But half the times, its moves up are very true to its name. It's a hologram. It's all a mirage, and there's nothing real to back it up. So be careful with HOLO. Also, I looked at iBid here again from Mr. Long Shorts, who mentioned that bull flag earlier, and I said, yeah, I think this is actually a pretty good look. Now, we did have that nice continued move up. However, this is a little bit of a topping tail candle. So that's one thing I will be cognizant of. But like I said, for me, I think just the way we rode that 9 EMA to the upside on the way up, I think if it stays there, could be a nice look. Again, not advice, just my take on the chart. But also, I want to talk about SOXL. So I got out of SOXL. I'm really happy with how I handled this trade, I have to say. It was a losing trade, but it was, you know, Neil sometimes said, like, as long as you execute the trade properly, your losers should be boring. Do you know what I mean? This is boring. So I'm really happy with it. I took it because I liked that 9 EMA hold. I was risking, like, under 10 pennies. I said, if we break below that 39.95, we break below 9 EMA. If I'm taking this because we're writing the 9 EMA, I don't want to skip below it. So that's exactly how I executed the trade. Pleased as darn punch. Lost a couple pennies there, but I'm still positive on SOXL. This one a little bit too bamboozling, so I think it's asked to be removed from my side charts. You know, SOXL, if you're not gonna betray or hold up any levels, you really were only even on my radar because I opened my screen and there you were holding a level and looking nice. So if you're not gonna do that anymore, buy, stock, sell. If anybody's seeing anything looking nice today, let me know. I'm always looking for stuff to take a look at. AMD at VWAP says 1320 Wolf. Let's take a look at AM Dizzle and the AM Destroyer of Worlds. Let's see how it's doing today.
Interesting range possibly here, 159 to 160. There's been breaks of the range though. Have you seen that?
That's true. That like I like a range to be a bit more consistent.
Right.
That's my thing. But I totally see what you mean. 160 around here. Like given the way I do my ranges, I'd probably say like 159, 89. But for a normal person, you could say like 160 and then down into 159. That's a nice range. But you're right. It is not super consistent because we've had breaks lower. We've had moves higher. This is, yeah, and it honestly was a kind of nice little uptrend heading into this 160.40. Then we had the kind of slightly bamboozling wick. Now we're trying to go towards this VWAP bounce. So I totally see what you're looking at there, 1320 Wolf. I want to see what this does at VWAP. MCRN looking spicy, says Rushab Shah. I'm so sorry. MCRN. Oh, sorry, MCRB, apparently. MCRB. McRib. McDonald's earnings are tomorrow morning.
Oh.
So take a look at that. Oh, this is a 90 pennies. This is a nice look. It's a really nice look for a penny stock. Couple bounces here off that 83 level. Then we see higher highs, higher lows. The only thing are these wicks are a little bit stressful. We have repeated times where we're having these wicks significantly higher than where we close. So to me, we can still hold that 90 MA and it'll be a nice look, but this is a little bit bamboozling for me to want to dip my toes and get involved, take a bite of the McRib at these levels. How are you doing?
I'm looking at Meta. Meta is tanking, guys. Looks like we broke Friday's low because on my charting yesterday, the low on Friday was 432, 431.96. That didn't even, we didn't hold up there. We didn't hold up there at all. We tanked with aggression. Now it's going to be whether 430 holds on. Technically, LOD on META, 430.05. That coincided with an aggressive move down in the future. And it has been a bad few weeks here for Meta. Look, I was charting this yesterday on the weekly, and I don't know. Let me show you the 4-hour here because, well, since selling off, you know, typically what happens is you get like this rounded top after that big sell-off, right? So you have an earnings sell-off, and then you get a rounded top, and then we start coming right back down. So, you know, we could see Meta 400 by the end of the week. It's a possibility. 429.30 LOD at the moment, but it is putting in that rounded top, and it is rejecting the 10 period on the 4-hour. So we're putting incrementally lower highs and lower lows now. And the reason I'm talking about this, and even though like it's not, you know, we don't trade on the 4-hour because we have to be flat on the end of the day, but it's good to have a bias for a particular name. You know, you come in every day the last few weeks and Tesla's been selling off every day. So if you had that short bias on Tesla, you know, as of late, you've done well. Today, obviously, a different story. So Meta looks like, you know, I may be looking short on Meta from, well, not now on, for a little bit. I want to see how this 430 area resolves. Sure, we got a 429.14 print, but that isn't the end of the matter. That's like 10 pennies on a couple of dollar name or whatever. Anyway, let's see what Meta does at 430. I'm not going to say it's going to give up the level quite yet. I want to give the $10 level a bit more respect. So if it jumps up above it, I could be persuaded to get long, especially if this candle here closes as like a hammer candle or something bullish of that nature. The future did hold up right at Friday's close, so not surprised that it did find support right there. It didn't earlier, but that was the IB. That was the implied balance low, and there was a lot more volume happening at that time. So right now we do hold up at 17,845, right back into 17,855. Bit of a hammer candle there, but you know, not really nothing to write about. We're talking about 10 points here. So that is the look. 174 could be coming in again on AAPL. It did seem now, it's kind of hard to see what it's rejecting here, whether it's a 10 or the 20, but it's kind of ranging a little bit between 174, putting in lower highs. Does it get another bounce at 174? It did on this occasion, so we'll keep an eye on that. The level that I like better than 174 is this 173.80. Again, it takes us to the pre-market high consolidation top that we held for quite a bit of time, from like 8 till basically 9:30. We can break above this level. 173.80, 173.75. If 174 doesn't hold, I'll be looking at that, Adara.
Yeah, I'm looking for this CSSE. The Piper saying natural gas. I'm not seeing CSSE. I checked Amex, and wow, New York. I checked the NYSE and Amex. This is the NQ, but this is actually chicken soup for the soul. I can pull up the USO though, for sure, for natural gas. Or is that UNG? That's UNG. Let's look at UNG, UNG, and see how that's going. Yeah, this is a nice stutter step to the upside and strong volume as well throughout. Like right now we're having a little bit of a dip, but pretty early. We just started a new 5-minute candle, so we could get that volume up. This is a nice look here, continuing to bounce off that 9 EMA. Nice stutter step to the upside. Do I want to play UNG? I don't like it because it's the Widowmaker, but I do like this continued move upside, but I also don't like that we're near high of days. I'm conflicted, but I think UNG gets a spot on the side chart because I just want to see what it's doing. I want to see what it's up to. So shout out to UNG and shout out to the Piper for pointing out natural gas. For me, IWM asks DMOS. I love the IWM. I used to trade this one very frequently before I went live. Yeah, the IWM, okay, so this is my main look on this one is lower highs. This initially, and I pointed this out when I was doing the small cap recap, looked much stronger, and it still does. It's still stronger than the NQ and the SPY. Right now, they're getting a little bit weaker, decidedly below VWAP and the 9 EMA, and look where we rejected. This was a nice support area here, right below VWAP 199.70. Look where we're having that little rejection now. It's going to be right at that previous support area, 199.70, continuing to jump to continue to skip, hop, and jump to the downside here. I want to see if we continue to go lower, what we do at 199.35, because that was another previous support area. But right now, looks like we're struggling to hold onto these gains here for the Russell. It's going to have a little bit more of a hustle 2000 to continue this move up, guys. How are you doing?
Look, good. No trades. Keeping my eye on Meta and keeping my eye on Apple. So Apple did hold 174 for now. Let's see if we can get long on this Meta. I like Meta possibly into 433 if I can get filled here. So I did get filled at 21s. I like it to around 433 or thereabouts. Let's put a beak wetter there at the 50s, and there we go. We take profits already. So that was a quick 30 pennies, and now we're about 60 pennies in the money. Let's go Meta. Let's go up into 433 area. The reason I like 433 or 432 and 3/4, I should say, so correct myself there, is that is the bottom. There, I don't want to say in the pre, that was the support area bottom that we put in earlier on. So that was the IB low around 940 there, 432 and 2/3. So we'll see if we can get a move into that area. And then before we find that resistance, we also have the 10 period in and around there. And if you look at some of the way these things trade, they tend to, magnetically return. The OB, the one, the Knob has mentioned this in the past. They tend to magnetically retrace into some of these moving averages. It's not a hard and fast rule. We'll see what Meta can do. I like that 430 level on Meta. Alas, though, didn't have that. We talked about that super quick there, but I wasn't able to get Meta at those levels. So we'll continue to watch. Yeah, so I missed my trade on Apple, 30 pennies above where it was. So another 174 defend right now on AAPL, about 35 pennies off that level. I don't think I'm going to take that again, though, on Apple. I don't think the third time is going to be the charm. In addition, I have this descending trend line that I think, may hold up. We've been putting in continuously lower highs on AAPL, right? We had that double top that everybody saw, 175.90, 176-ish. Since that time, we've been coming down off those levels, and so I'm unsure exactly how to feel about any long here on Apple. In fact, I'm thinking possibly short here at this 174.50, 174 and a third. So I'll keep an eye out on that, Adara.
Yeah, I'm still keeping my eye out on a plethora of things. Still taking a look. I know I borrowed that word from you, but it is a really great word.
I don't own it.
But I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't have to pay like trademark or something like a Paris Hilton
right.
situation. Happy to hear that. But Snapchat right now, continuing to get interesting. I should have gotten short, but I really just kind of quickly took a look at this chart, so I wasn't prepared to punch. I did like the fact that we had this massive bearish wick here up And I don't know if this is a real print or a dark pool, but we did have that very bearish wick here up at that previous resistance area that I like near 1480s, then continuing to the downside. If we keep projecting off the 9 EMA, this guy's still on my side chart. So Snapchat, might have to snap up some short shares if this move to the downside continues. I was really proud of that 10 penny short we had earlier on Snapchat, executed it the way I kind of wanted to. Not the way I kind of wanted to. It was that I executed the way I wanted it to. I'll give myself a little bit more credit there. Thanks. Thank you very much. Yeah, Kyle Burton, I didn't take Microsoft just because I'm trying not to trade these Mag 7 names quite yet until I get my footing, find my sea legs a little bit more in the live, because I'm just not super comfortable taking these mega cap stocks yet, unless it's like an NVDL, say, or a TSLA. But no, I totally see what you mean. We had that nice curl to the downside there, then had the bounce off the 400. So, I mean, really nice look. And thank you for pointing out this bear flag earlier in the 15, which I'll show to everybody here. This is the type of stuff I need to be looking at more. What are we doing on a wider scale? If I like a move, even though I do scalp more, I still want to see what kind of general trend we're doing, right? So shout out to you, Kyle Burdett, and hopefully you are printing. You're almost in the dollar club there if you took that 400 down. So thank you very much for pointing that one out. What else is happening? Yeah, lots of people shouting out Tesla and Sean's analysis of said Cybertruck. This Tesla continuing to the upside near 195, and this is a nice. Well, it was a bullish looking candle before I started talking. This could get interesting though. We have that move near 195, high of day 194.80. Now we are struggling. The per candle range per candle, that's what you call it. The range per candle here getting incredibly spicy on Tesla. This previous candle opened 193.45, getting into 194.50. That is, or 194.80, sorry. That is a 150 range, $1.50. So this is getting, you could get in and out of the dollar club in one candle in TSLA right now. So things are getting very spicy. I need to be getting involved in the short. I'm very mad I missed that TQQ short. I was liking it here, and then I wasn't really sure because we did make another higher high. Should have taken that VWAP projection. But you know what? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. I like that 65s area still, so because that was an area we struggled with a little bit. So if we come back to 65s reject, I will take it. Also, Nicole Harris.
Hotlanta.
Super chat. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. SPY up, AMD earnings, J Powell, and bond auction crash. I made a model. 517 level for Tuesday, 496 for Wednesday. Info actually correlates with options chain, so this is very cool. Options, I know very little about options, so I'm always appreciative of when other people come in with options related stuff. I need to look up that options chain. I'll take a quick look at the SPY, see what you're spying on the SPY right now. This is, okay, so you said 496 for Wednesday. That would be around, okay, that's an interesting level because that was an area we bounced off earlier. So I think 496, also a nice little chop and churn we had going back to February. So I think that could be a very spicy look. And then 417 for Tuesday, that's going to be up over here. I like this because that was some, I mean, I know, you definitely know more than what you're talking about than me, so I'm just looking at these levels and smiling and nodding. But I do like that 517 area. That was certainly a little bit of resistance going back to a couple weeks ago, April 12th. April 9th, April 12th, that was certainly a resistance. Then we had to have some continued support here that we see on this 496 level. So I think that's a very nice look there. Shout out to you, and thank you very much for your support for the show. Nicole Harris, shout out to ATL.
Shout out to Hotlanta. Not bad. We did really well on that meta trade. Trying to short Apple at these levels. I'm looking for a 174. Like, I don't want to call it a flat bottom break because we have a bit of a descending channel now on Apple after that big news. And it's gapping up quite aggressively. And I do like it as a short, possibly into this 173.75, 173.80. So since that time, we've been making lower highs. And that time, I mean the double top that we put in at generally 176. We've been making lower highs and lower lows. So you could play that channel like I'm trying to at the moment. If it breaks 50, I'll look to get out and then get back in on a possible VWAP rejection if it doesn't hold the channel as I am anticipating it would. But we're gonna have to figure out a way to weasel our way in on Tesla here. I mean, I don't want to look short, obviously, but that 195 area is coming in fast and furious here. 194.89 now, the LOD on TSLA. And I feel like the double bottom here at 185 on Tesla is exactly the opposite of the double top that we got there on Apple. I wonder if they happened at the same time. So what time did this top happen? 9:45? Oh, wow. This is like the almost the exact same time. So what time was this top? 10:10, and what time was this? 10:30. So it's a little bit different there. Yeah, they're not exactly the same thing. What's going on there, Katina man? $10 mark on Tesla. So the Katina man's $10 in the money there on TSLAs. He took that monster 185, and we just touched 195 there. HOD there goes 195. Looks as if 195 and a half is coming in. Tesla on the way up. Looks like the 200 man. I'm gonna have to go look in the personal account, see how much I'm up on this. But to be honest with you, so disappointed I wasn't buying more. But
I get you per Tesla pated.
Per Tesla pated.
Per Tesla plate, don't anticipate. So you did. For Tesla plate, don't and Tesla pate.
I like that.
So shout out to you there. I mean, still awesome that I know you got involved and you had your whole plan for how you were going to trade that. So nice look there. Now taking a bite out of the apple to the short side. So
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we got this. TQQs, I am trying to get involved. I know I said I liked the 455.65 as a short, but then I was like, if it holds up as a long, get long. So we're going to get long, because initially I liked it as a long too. I just missed out on the opportunity. Sorry, I liked it as a short, then I liked it as a long. I've had a lot of thoughts about this level, apparently. But I do like this level. I'm cool just taking it to that VWAP projection. We're going to take about 10 cents. I'll get ready for 74s. And also for risk, this kind of wick we got down here into 57, I'm okay with. So we're going to be trying to risk about 8 pennies, trying to make about 10. I am okay with that. I do have a bit of an otter risk to reward structure, that is for sure. But my whole thesis is always going to be, as long as I am trying to make equal or greater to what I am risking, I can sleep at night. So that is the plan there. For my TQs, I'm aware I'm taking it at kind of a spicy level, but you know, as much as I could maybe lose out, I could also do well on it, right? So I want to take that opportunity if I see something that I like. I am cognizant, though, of the fact that we generally do have some lower highs here and a massive VWAP rejection. ANVS. Brad is asking about Brad Aldman saying ANVS to the downside and Novus Bio. Okay, it announced data from its study. Okay, efficacy in the CGIC endpoint was not reached. So basically, Brad, they had to study, but they weren't able to actually prove what they wanted to prove. So that's why it's down. So it's not just like the data was released, but it wasn't the data that they wanted, or they weren't able to prove the efficacy they were trying to prove. So that is why this one is headed to the downside. I hope that makes sense. 3.88 million shares, multi-halter to the downside, this one. Let's look at the daily here. Oh, buy a chart. That's cool. Bye-bye. We're going to pull that back up there for you. ANVS on the NY. But yeah, Brad, I hope that helps explain why, because I know you were wondering why this one was moving to the downside. That is why. They did have the data, but it wasn't proving what they wanted to prove. So that's why so much weakness here in ANVS. On the daily chart, right now, this kind of wiped out anything. That level, if we do bounce back up, that 9 level was a massive area of support earlier. That's really the only area I can see if we come back, but we already halted again in ANVS. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm just watching this Tesla thing. New high a day, 196.20. This thing is rocketing up, man. I was going to put a dip trade at 195, but doesn't look like it's going to be a dip trade kind of day. Look at this thing rocket up into 196 now and a quarter. You can punch at highs if you want. I mean, this hammer candle was a great area to possibly get a dip trade. To me, the best dip trade was this 10-period touch here at 191 1/3, but that's come and gone a long time ago. So I'm in this Apple short trying to basically take this 150 rejection. It does look like it's breaking the upward channel now. So I'm going to give Apple a bit of a short leash here, and then maybe we'll see exactly what it does at VWAP. 174.82 is where the volume weighted average price is on my chart, but I feel like it is having some issues breaking and holding above the about the $0.50, which is what's keeping me in this long. We're about flat on the short right now. Let's keep an eye on some of these other ones here. How many times are we going to touch this closing print on Amazon? So this possibly could be an interesting range on Amazon with about 180 and let's say just generally 180, maybe 180.20, 180.15 to the high side, and then this 179.63 to the low side. It's been ranging between that time for a little bit. It also had that same range earlier on from about 9:40 till 10.15 once we really broke through that range to the high side there. So that's a good look for anyone looking for a bit of a calmer trade. 400 absolutely held there on the soft one, and that is a trade that I missed. I have that level earmarked on my my charting yesterday for 400. It did break it earlier on, but that was on much more volatility. Now when we're a little bit calmer, look at the bottom end of this candle here, 410, 414. So that level does hold. So good look there for Amazon. I'm looking for a curl down here on Apple, but it does seem like it is a little bit strong, but below the $0.50 at the moment. So unsure what to make of this. Now, a bit of a topping till candle coming in here on Tesla. I'm not going to be quick to short this, obviously, but 196.25, and we dip down into 195.25. So we'll see what we get there on Tesla. All right, what else are we doing here? Well, we're still below the 50 period and VWAP on the future, and we did have a bit of a tendency to reject off either the 50 period or VWAP. It's hard to tell because the closing prints are south of VWAP, the wicks go into the 50 period. The 50 period a little bit higher than the volume weighted average price on my chart here. So we'll see what the future does when it gets into the 17,890s or the high 8s. So, you know, right now it is having a bit of an issue breaking through that. So we'll continue to watch that, Adair.
Yeah, I mean, the future is so bamboozling, right? I can't believe I'm calling it the future. I am really caught up in this futures trading. So bamboozling. We just danced around the area I wanted to get out and then rejected with the viciousness. So I'm a little grumpy, but that's okay. We're still bouncing off that 90 EMA. I have no reason to leave. We did move our out a couple pennies lower. So please, this punch, you cannot fool me, future. I mean, you can, but like, please don't. Thanks. So we're going to try to work smarter, not harder. Just move this down a couple pennies. If it wants to reject, that's cool. I can work with you. TQQs. Let's be besties. Also, shout out to Nicole Harris for another super chat here related to Tesla. $5 super chat. Jay Powell, I think this is supposed to be Elon, told us last week not to look, bless you, not to look at Tesla as a car company. Only bought one option on Friday, Tesla 175. That's awesome. Shout out to you. Thanks for the podcast. Thank you to Sean and Brendan for giving us that podcast every week. It's a great week. It's always a great podcast. Lots of humor in there as well. Lots of anecdotes, lots of lessons. Tesla currently near that 196 area. This one continuing to the upside. I have Tesla on my side chart because I'm looking at that. I know Jay Lee was mentioning a potential short on that, so shout out to you. But I do think that there could be some opportunities. I just never want to mess up with Tesla. You know what I mean? I want to make sure I have all my ducks in a row before I get those beak wetters ready to go. So that's going to be the look. I'm trying to see what else is happening here. Reddit seeing some buying action, says Bonkzilla. Let's see what's happening there on R to the D to the D to the T. Reddit. Oh, this is a range. So I got really excited there. This is a nice look. Slightly higher lows. Trying to make higher highs. It looks a little bit bull flaggish. Did we have a catalyst on Reddit? Because this is gorgeous. No, we should call it green it today because this is all upside, up 6%. Not many red candles here except for that kind of continued bounce. Not seeing, okay, Elon Musk-esque facing widespread disruptions, but that was at 735, so I don't think that's what's giving this move to the upside. Nice look, though, really rangy. This might go on the side chart. I think we might have to put this on the side chart because I do like that we have these higher lows. I like that we're up on the day. Volume 1.7 mil, so not significant, but I have traded Eli Lilly on much worse volume, and this Reddit moving pretty nicely. 8 penny spread is another thing giving me pause, but not enough pause to not put it on my side chart. We're going to keep taking a look at this. How are you doing?
Good. Got stopped out of that AAPL trade there as it did make its way right back into the volume weighted average price. So we'll see exactly how Apple does at those levels. We got in the Cybertruck here at 08s. We'll see if we get the break of 196 at these levels. I'm also keeping an eye definitely at 400 on the soft one because, well, that is a level that I've liked on Softy for multiple days now. So we'll look to see if we can take something on Softy at these levels. So keeping an eye on both of those. Also, definitely keeping an eye on the future at these levels. No question about that as we come right into the volume weighted average price again. So those are interesting. All those are interesting levels right now on Apple and on Tesla. Nothing really for me to report What is everybody looking at? Well, yeah, we took a nice little trade there on Tesla through the break. So we're continuing to go high, holding this up now about 30 pennies. We'll see if we can get that move to continue. But like that 196 level is going to have to like break and hold. Otherwise, you know, we could definitely get that flush through the bottom there on Tesla. So if we can make a nice little bump up, I'll look to flatten out around right there. There we go. So nice move up, just a nice 30 penny winner there on Tesla. So nothing really too crazy, just trying to keep it low key. Yeah, something's wrong with my eyes. So I'm gonna, my contacts are messed up here. So I'm gonna have to send it to you and go to the bathroom to take care of this.
Yeah, of course. Like as a fellow contacts wearer, I do understand the struggle. They're like very convenient in a lot of ways, but they also can be not a fun time. So we'll take over. We'll look at some stocks. If anybody's seeing anything they want me to take a look at, let me know. I will be keeping an eye on the chat. AV asking about Intel. It looks like a swing long to me, but I wonder what's going on with the same. So let's give you the Intel at Intel there. I to the N to the T to the C. They had earnings last week. Those were a little bit of an L. They did have revenue, that lots of price target decreases from analysts across the board following those earnings. They had a revenue miss and an EPS beat, also lower than expected earnings per share and revenue for next quarter as well. So bit of a bad look. This Intel right now, though, actually kind of spicy. We are down on the day, decidedly so, but we had that upward trend. Now we're kind of topping and turning here below the 9 EMA. Intel kind of a spicy look. Let's take a look at the daily chart to see the swing long here on INTC. Yeah, so this is interesting. We gave up a massive area of that 41, 42 level that we kind of saw a little bit of support. Going back, I mean, when did we first start seeing this support? This is going back to December 2023. That was a nice little support area. Continued to kind of happen. Then we had a nice little gap down. April 3rd, let's find out what happened on April 3rd to cause that gap down, because I like to be informed. April 3rd, gap down. Oh yeah, announcing, this is when they announced the really bad revenue for the foundry. So that's when we had that gap down, gave up that 42, 41 area of support decidedly, continuing to head to the downside. I think right now, if we can kind of continue to bounce off of that 30s, because we did have that wick into 30s and came right back last week on Friday. So I kind of want to see what we do. Right now, though, we've been rejecting the 9 EMA for quite some time. So if we can reclaim that level, that could also be a nice look. Basically, I think Intel right now needing to get above some previous levels and find its footing once again for the INTC. Alvin Johnson saying Rivian puts. Let's take a look at Rivian. That one reports next week as well. I believe Tuesday after the close, I want to say. So next week, Rivian reporting, one to keep an eye on. The daily in Rivian, actually, this one finding some support here around 850. But right now, we're going to get some support on these markets from Neil for his lesson of the day.
Welcome to your lesson of the day. And what I want to talk about today is fitting. When you're talking about gap and go over at the desk for the midday, but over here, you know, when you gap up, you've had a big move. But what happens when that gap or that move is an outsized move that's already pressing things like your average true range or your normal parameters for the individual stock? Now, there's some instances where you might expect an outsized move that would be 3, 4, 5x the average potential day. Sometimes it'll be 10x. Stock moves 1 or 2% on a normal day. Maybe it's moving 10 or 15. The question becomes, like, what do you do and how do you adjust your trading style when you have one of those days? Now, obviously, there are certain events where we can expect this. When earnings come around, you'll often hear us reference, what's the expected move on earnings? You might see something expected move 7, 8, 9% when a typical good day is 1 or 2. So you already have it baked in on earnings that it's going to move like this, and you can be patient or have the anticipation for some wider swings. But what's that going to look like in practice? I'm going to give you an earnings one first, then we'll talk about something where you might not have seen the move as big of a percentage because it was post-earnings on Tesla. But let's start with SoFi, because this was a great example, I think, today of where you had to have the extra expectation of volatility. Now, SoFi was initially up on earnings. I know I'm showing you a chart that has it down 10%, and that's obviously nasty. But this is a stock that was up on earnings early in the pre-market. And if you look at the last 3 months on this stock, it is traded in the same $1 range. For 3 months, you've gone up, you've gone down, and it takes weeks to go from top to bottom. Now, clearly, in hindsight, you're going to see that it did it in one morning. Now, what you should be able to do here is when you sit down, and the stock was, when I sat down, it was actually gapping up. Gapping up, down doesn't matter. By the open, it was back to flat and working into the downside. When you think that a stock is post-earnings and going to make a bigger move than anticipated, you have to adjust your plan for the extremes. In the pre-market, you probably heard me say, well, $7 is going to be the level. And at one point during the morning show, it was like, well, if it gets to 7, that would be crazy. I think even Sean said that. But on an earnings day, if it's weak, and that's the level of support I like, then that's the level of support that you should wait for. When it's 5% away or 6% away, unless I like a short trade, you just got to do nothing. And reality is that can often be the best way to approach things is, well, I'm expecting an outsized move. If I'm going to be on this bid anywhere, it's got to be at the absolute best price. And it ends up getting down there. And if you looked at it since 9:30, this is 9:30. The only place you would have had good longs is off that $7 level on the daily chart. The place that it was taking weeks to get back and forth going into these earnings. The other side here is, okay, well, what could I have done better? Obviously, looking for a short opportunity should have been there. Remember on the daily chart, you pop on over, well, look at that top, that's the $8 level. I mean, hindsight's going to be 20/20, but you're here to learn, you're here to get better. If you think there's the opportunity for outsized moves, then suddenly a trade that you might not normally take on the short side is available to you. There's your $8 level, your 200 period sits about 8.15 up there, and you come in the pre-market right about 7 o'clock when a lot of that pre-market volume comes in. It dips down in. It bounces up at 790, which is Friday's close, and then right in here at about 8 o'clock, this is where things get really spicy. You actually see it pop, fade right at the 200 period moving average, and then flush. Now, pre-market trading is obviously different. If this happens intraday, there's a good chance I'd probably have taken a trade like this, but when it breaks this flat bottom, it's about $7.90 in here. Your risk is about 20 to 25 pennies. Now, on a normal day, you'd never actually want to risk 20 to 25 cents on SoFi. We showed you that daily chart. It takes weeks for it to go that dollar. But on a day like today on earnings, where there's no support till the $7 level, that's exactly when you can look for that kind of an extended opportunity. It goes a 1-to-1 to 750, or a 2-to-1 to 750, and then breaks down at the open. So there's an example where when it breaks here, you could have a stop, which is wider than normal, but on earnings where you're expecting it could have that over 10%, that's the day to shoot for it. It gives you the bigger move. So obviously, patience and waiting for the best bid when it's going to the downside, but you can also maybe jump into some trades that might have a higher risk level in terms of growth than you would normally because the upside's there, right? It can move more, so sometimes your stop should be a little bit wider. So that's an idea there for SoFi. Sometimes it's not about earnings. Obviously, when things report, you get those double-digit moves, but there's other times where even good news probably takes you a little bit off guard. Now, Tesla is the example of that today, right? Like when I sat down in the morning, Tesla was already going ham. The ATR is like $8 on this stock. On earnings, we all saw Tesla start a big time recovery, and it's had a few days where since then, $8 no problem. Like you got 158 into 172. Like that's a good $14 move, almost 10% just a couple of days ago. So you already know it's got some two-baggers in it or double-digit moves in it. And it's been doing this since earnings. So that's the first key. Now, obviously, I know it's easy to say with earnings, it's a bigger percentage move. How are you supposed to know that the particular news about them in China is going to get that outsized move? The hint would be, what is the pattern since then? You've got one massive day with double digits. You've got two massive days with double digits. 2 out of the 4 last trading sessions have been that big. And then on top of that, you're gapping through some big levels. So you've got 2 reasons in terms of trading days before that can tell you it might be an extended range today. And then the third one, I would suggest to you is it's trading in a brand new price area. This resistance, once it's through like the 183, 184 up here, you've got a massive gap of about $20. So you've got a couple of days where it's shown you that kind of oomph, and then you've got this massive gap, which if filled is even bigger than the move it made on those earnings. So in terms of anticipating it, you have some reasons why you should, and it's Tesla, it's known to squeeze, but what do you do for executions? And I'm telling you, it's basically the same thing as SoFi. That support level was $184 in there. If you look at those wicks on the daily chart, there's a 184, your top is like a 205. So this morning, when this stock is flying all the way up to like 191, 192 at the open, now sometimes when it's stair step up like this and you're expecting, okay, if it's a normal $8 ATR, if it does 4 or 5 in the morning, I'll be happy with that. So try to risk $1, maybe 2 at the most, but you're looking for $4 or $5 moves. That's fair. You might be looking at things like a 190 buy in that particular case because you still have room for it to break the high. You scalp some out for a couple of bucks, it breaks the high, goes a couple more. That's your plan. You stop out underneath like 189. Play inside of that pre-market range. But on a day where you're anticipating it could be double digits, based on the fact it's had 2 days post-earnings that it's done it, it's in a new gap range, which is like 20 bucks wide, which is well over 10%. In that particular case, if the dip buy is at the 184 support level, then you got to be buying in front of that. Because if you're trying to go long 191, 192 like normal, you're then holding it $6, $7 against you, which is a bit too far. Then you needed to really fill in that entire gap. So when you think the range can be wider and a stock is going to be more volatile than normal, it's not just about patience, because patience is always good in trading, but it's almost expect it to get to the price that it normally wouldn't. So if you like 185 and it's sitting at 192, then wait. Wait for it to get down there. And if it doesn't show you that move, then buying higher, you might actually have to hold for even more off of the top. If it holds a higher low and you end up taking a breakout trade, then maybe expect it to travel a little bit further. But it's more about the anticipation. On earnings, it's easy to say. We know it can move more. But sometimes you've got to be able to just look at the recent behavior coupled with where it's trading in the range to expect a little bit more oomph. And then once you have it, you'll see monster moves like this on Tesla and you can take advantage of it. If you're long at 191, it's difficult to turn that into a winning trade when it goes to 85. But if you're long in front of that 84 level, 85, 86s, you can have multiple entries, you'll have much more confidence, it's a lot easier to hold. But it only happens if you wait for it. 5% pullback on most days is not where people are looking to go long. But on this day in Tesla, it was perfect because it was going to be a day that it was double digits. So that's your lesson of the day. On outsized moves, you've got to have a different expectation in terms of where to get in, how much you have to hold it, and how patient you need to be. So as always, good luck in your trading. That's your lesson of the day. Careful with those outside moves.
Shout out to Neil. Awesome, eloquent, informative, all the adjectives you can think of. As always, thank you very much for dropping those hot lines, Neil. Appreciate that. All right, as Neil was doing his lesson of the day, the future weaseled its way back up to 17.9. And so I took a bit of a scalp trade off that initial 17.9 touch, and then on the TQQs, not on the actual NQ contract itself, looking to see exactly what it does here. I mean, we're wicking into 17.9. We're not doing the take of the level with any vigor, so we'll wait and see. I've already got my stop put in on the TQQs for the remaining amount. But that's not the only thing that was popping while Neil was dropping hot lines. There's another little ticker, and it goes by the name of Tesla. This thing is unabated to the quarterback, guys. 17% now. We're going to hit 200 today. I thought we would hit 200 sometime this week. No, it's probably going to be today. 199 looks like it's going to come in, or sorry, excuse me, 198 looks like it's going to come in super fast here. 197 and a fifth HOD right now. And this is a fake wick. So this did not happen. Even though it showed up on P Pro 8 as well, It's showing up on my charts here on my platform. It did not happen. I was sitting there with a dip trade on Tesla when this supposedly took place, and I didn't get filled. And yeah, I didn't really spend a whole lot of time down there, so I'm unsure what to make of this bar. So you can basically look at it as having a low of 195.50 at this bar here. It didn't make its way down into the 10 period. So we'll continue to watch that, but Tesla is rocketing up. Also, the other thing that's making a bit of a move right now is the other monster. It goes by NVDA. It's had 3 different rejections on the 50 period, on the 5. It's right there right now. I'd rather not try to guess whether or not this is going to hold up here, or I'd rather just participate in the down move. That means missing the top. That means missing the top. That's fine. But this thing can move dollars, $5 in one 1-minute candle. So I don't want to be on the wrong side of that. Anyway, it does look like it's holding up at the 50 period here for whatever reason. Keep your eye on that. If you don't want to trade NVDA because it's awfully expensive, you can trade some of its derivatives like NVDL, NVDS, NVDX. All offer the same kind of price action, but with obviously a different price. So it's a different stock. Keeping an eye on that. Down, go down, future. I'm looking for a 17.9 rejection here as we just dipped right back below it again.
Yeah, speaking of the NVIDIA move to the upside, I was trying to short this because I noticed we did have these lower highs and a flat bottom. I wasn't 100% sure it was going to be a flat bottom break, but it was still something I wanted to try to play at least into this 36.65 area. That was the bottom previously. Got involved at, I want to say 36.93, lost about 9 pennies. Really, I was just looking to see us break 37 with the viciousness. If we did, I was outie. We did, and I left. So nice little basic trade there. Nothing else. I was going to say there's nothing else I'm looking at, but I am looking at IBIT actually. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about IBIT for a bit. This 9 EMA bounce, very nice. I want to see us bounce again. Oh, we bounced. Okay, now's your time, Badera. It's now or never. Shout out to Justin Bieber and oh no, that's Never Say Never. But yeah, shout out to that old Justin Bieber song with Dayton Smith. I will never say never, and I will fight for forever to get this IBIT trade. I want to be getting out here around that just shy of 36s. If we could make 36s, I'd be pleased as punch. But I really want to watch. If we fail, I don't want to overstay my welcome because that's been my biggest issue. I am scalpier, and if I want to scalp and then try to wait and see, oh, let's see if we get any lower or higher, that doesn't work for me. So I really need to be acting quickly, acting aggressively, acting as viciously and swiftly as the market is wont to do. That's going to be the strategy here. If we break below this earlier area here, this 85s, I'm going to be out. So we're risking like 5 pennies or less. This is a very, but I feel like also, I know, I want to address as well, I know my risk and reward ratios are very odd, and I know I risk very little, but I find that ends up being a better strategy for me because that way I just know if we get out, if we break below this area, I have to get out, and I find it helps me minimize my losses so I can maximize my gains.
Fair, absolutely respectable, and a sound strategy. So I hope you absolutely print on that, as I typically hope you do. I don't
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and so yeah, I just have to put that out there. Send the good juju your way. All right, man. The monster known as Tesla continues to Tesla on up, baby. It is just ridiculous. It's a 198. Now, 179, 197, excuse me, 94. I mean, the question really now is, do you take the short at 200? If we make it up to 200, I know it's an if statement at this point, but if you make it up to 200, are you looking short there, or is everybody going to be looking short at 200? And so do you not stand in front of this monster? In other words, so I'm short NVDL, I'm short the future, I'm printing on both at the moment. The NVDL was, I explained that to you guys, it was a 50-period retracement on the monster NVIDIA. There's more than one monster today. There's Tesla and NVIDIA. And right now, NVIDIA is yet again rejecting on the future. We're nice 20 pennies. Sorry, 20 pennies. Calm down, bro. 15 pennies in the money on this NVDL short. Let's have a look at what we're doing on the future. Back to break even on the future there as we dip down below 17.9. I should mention to you guys, though, that even though we're kind of doing the dance with no pants right now with 17.9, we are putting in higher highs on each successive 5-minute candle on the future. So even though we're not clearing it, I am a little bit, I'm not concerned, but I'm cognizant of the fact that we're putting in higher highs. And this is what I'm talking about here on the future. even though you're kind of getting that 17.9 resistance, and that's to be expected. Look at these successive higher highs. Higher high, higher high, higher. You guys get it, right? Higher highs. Now, keep your eye out for that 17.916 top, 17.91, whatever. This crest over here, if we get above that, then I think that fundamentally changes things. So we'll keep eyes on that. 198 coming in for Tesla now. 197.99 HOD. Looks like that's probably going to get broken any second. And I really do think we're going to hit 200 today on TSLA. All right, let's see if we can make another leg down here on NVDL before we cover the entire short. Pack my patience on that, but probably prudent to flatten out this trade here so that I can start the lesson du jour. So I'm going to get out of my trades because I'm not going to manage these trades while I'm doing the lesson. So let's start the lesson, baby. We're talking about the gap and go strategy all week. We're going to be talking about the different variations of it. Today, we'll just do a really basic introduction of what the gap and go strategy is and how to use it on an intraday trading basis. So just to start, the gap and go strategy is a popular technique for day traders, capitalizing on price gaps between a security's closing price one day and its opening price the next. So what we're looking for here is that 4 p.m. close on the day prior, whether it was a Friday or the day actually prior to our trading day today, okay? And then we're looking at what the 9:30 a.m. open is on the current trading day. Those are the two data points upon which we assess the gap. That 4 p.m. close from yesterday or whatever previous day it was, and that 9:30 a.m. So that's what I want to explain there, just so that we can all understand each other. So understanding gaps occur when the opening price doesn't typically follow the usual trading pattern. For our purposes, there's going to be two types of gaps. There are more than these type of gaps, and they're called different things. But for today's lesson, we're going to talk about gap ups and gaps down. Gaps up and gaps down. So the gap up obviously is the price opens higher than the previous day's close, which is suggesting to you bullish momentum. Conversely, the gap down, the price opens lower than the previous day's close, which is going to suggest to you bearish momentum. Why does it work though? Oh, forgot about these. This is how it is on a chart. So you can see here the Nifty 50. You have that bit of a top at 34,720, and then you gap up nicely there well above 34.8. So that's the gap up. And conversely, here is the gap down. It's a bit of a chasm, so to speak, on the actual price chart, and that shows you either bearish or bullish sentiment. So why does it work? So the gap and go strategy assumes the price movement causing the gap will actually continue into the opening session. For example, a positive earnings report that got released on the day prior after 4 o'clock or on the day of in the pre-market might lead to a gap up with traders anticipating the price to keep rising. It's insane. So Katina, man, before you got back, I was talking about possible 200 short on Tesla. What are your thoughts? Do you think there's going to be a crowded trade? Yeah, crowded trade, right? He's not just sitting. He's sitting on that thing, you know. Shout out to the Katina man, baby. Who would have thought? $13? Right, of course. He said he didn't really know how much it was going to move. Otherwise, he'd hold the whole position. So why does it work, right? So we finished explaining why it works. The sentiment is that it will continue to move up, and an example, obviously, is the earnings report. So identifying these gaps. So you're going to need to get yourself a pre-market scanner, and in the pre-market scanner, you can sort by gaps. So I'll just give you an example on my pre-market scanner over here. Look what's gapping up. So you can see this gap column over here, and then there's a percentage. So you have TSLR, which is obviously the Tesla long, 2 times long ETF. There you go, TSLR. Did you know about that one?
TSLR?
Yeah, so it's not just TSLL, it's TSLR.
I did not know that.
Yeah, on the NASDAQ. Yeah, okay. Interesting. This is gapping up aggressively, 22%, obviously because Tesla is gapping up. So the pre-market scanner helps you identify the names that are gapping up. And then you're going to look for stocks with decent gaps between 2 and 4%. Obviously, the small cappers have a lot bigger of a gap, usually, sometimes over triple digits, 100%. So that's what you're looking for there. Get yourself a pre-market scanner, sort by gaps, and then look for something within the range of 2 to 4%, and then work off that. And confirmation is key. So not all gaps are created equal. Look for additional confirmation of the trend. So the first one you want to be looking for is volume. So what if something's gapping up? If nobody's participating in it, chances are it may fade. So you got to have one eye on the gap and the other eye on the volume that it's done. Now, obviously, the more pre-market volume that you see, the better. So keep your eye on volume and also look at the news. Why is it gapping up? Is it an earnings report? If it is an earnings report, have they held the call yet? If they haven't held the call on the earnings report, you may want to hold off trading it because the call often introduces new variables. You could sell off after the call, or you could go up even more. I mean, you have both possibilities here. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Why is it moving? Is it a news catalyst, or is it an earnings report? What is it? Identify it and see if it's something that you're comfortable trading off. And here is basically an example of the gap and go using EA. There's the closing print, and there you go, gapping up on high volume. So the volume here suggesting to you that the gap is legitimate because other people are looking at it as well. And so your entry and your stop loss. So when you take this trade, how are you going to weasel your way into this trade? So one suggestion is the breakout entry. So you enter the trade after the price decisively breaks above for the gap up strategy or breaks below for the gap down strategy, a key level, like the pre-market high or low. And that's why I said you get yourself a scanner so you can see what's gapping up and down in the pre. So what you're going to do, once you find something that's gapping to your liking, you're going to chart the pre-market high, the pre-market low, wait for that bell to ring at 9:30. If it's above the pre-market high, you're going to have to figure something different. If it's below it, then maybe you're looking to take the actual breakout of the pre-market high. Just a suggestion. Doesn't mean that's the only way to trade these gap ups. You can even take dip trades on them off key areas of support in case it goes red to green, for example. Okay? And your stop loss. Always have a stop loss order in place to limit your potential losses. Place it below the gap for the long positions and above the gap for shorts. Why is that? Because if the gap gets filled, then is the trade really valid? At this point, maybe a different trade is valid, but no longer the gap trade, because if that gap gets filled, that's not part of the plan, and you should be getting out of the trade. So for the longs, you're putting your stop loss below the gap. For the shorts, you're putting your stop loss above the gap. So how do you take profits and how do you exit once you've weaseled your way into this trade? So there are no hard and fast rules for profit taking, but consider these factors. The target price. Set a realistic target profit level based on technical indicators and chart patterns. If you notice the particular name you're trading always seems to reject off the 200 EMA on the daily or the 4-hour or whatever, you have to do your homework here. You should be putting a profit target at that key area of resistance. Same thing goes for the support level. If you're taking it short and it has a key area of support, example, 165 on Apple, we saw that hold up a number of times. You should be looking to wet your beak on the short at 165, right? So make sure not only you're identifying these gaps, but you're charting it well enough to know where the areas of support and resistance are. And you should also have an eye on volatility. If the name you are trading is awfully volatile, and you can look at the average true range, or you can look at range per candle, so many different ways you can judge volatility here, you should be looking to wet your beak on some profits a little bit sooner in case things turn around. And your trailing stop, right? Gradually adjust your stop loss to lock in profits as the price moves in your favor. This is sort of a suggestion here, and a lot of traders don't use this. Some do. It's really up to you. Okay? And remember the following risks, guys, right? The gap and go strategy can absolutely be profitable, but it also carries with it inherent risks. The first one, false breakouts. So you take that break of the pre-market high, right? Because you found something that gapped up, you charted the pre-market high, you take the breakout of it, boom, it retraces 5%. So the false breakout is an ever-present possibility here and threat. And the gap fills, I mentioned this earlier, right? That's why you have your stop below the gap on the long and above the gap on the short, because if the gap gets filled, the trade is no longer valid using this specific strategy. So make sure you are aware of both these and others risk factors. And a bonus tip, guys, this strategy is best suited for experienced traders, mostly comfortable with intraday volatility. Paper trading here in the simulator can absolutely help you practice before risking real capital on the line and getting in some trouble. How it goes over there, Adara?
It goes well. I had the SOXL trade. I am pleased as punch. It was a SOX W for me and not a SOX L, so that's always happy to hear. That's how I've been trying to trade these the chip names mostly. I did have some NVDL trades, but today my most successful trades have been in the SOX L. I want to talk about this though because I'm a little bit displeased with myself. Not displeased as punch, mind you, but I think I was a little bit too impatient on this. I got out initially. I got in at 40.14, I was happy with that. I said we're going to give this until we see what we do at like 40.08, so we're risking about 6 pennies because there were a couple dojis there that were interesting. We got in here and we bounced beautifully off that 40.10, so I was pleased as punch. Then though I noticed we had a little bit of trouble at 40.24, so that's where I got out, took my 10 pennies. Then we worked back up all the way up into like 40.38, so it's like I could have made another 14 pennies there, but I'm trying not to have too much FOMO about it, mostly just have JOMO because now we're falling back to that level. But it makes me really realize, like Adara, maybe you want to be a little bit more patient. Maybe don't get out at the first resistance level you see. I'm still happy I took those profits, mind you, and I know that sometimes my worst trades happen when I don't take profits quickly enough because I am a little bit scalpier and rangier by nature, but I do want to be cognizant about that. So I wanted to talk about it. I am happy with the trade and I'm happy with how I execute it, but I do think it's still worth it for me to go and think, how could I have executed it better, right? Because we always want to grow and learn, especially at how to trade. Couple stocks I want to look for people. Baidu was mentioned by, I think, Elon in the chat there, so shout out to you. Baidu is, oh, yeah, this is nice. This is nice, but also I think this is a massive resistance area at this 107.26. Look where we got up to. First 5-minute candle, 107.26. We tried to wick a little bit higher here, but then we ended up closing a little bit lower. So this 107.26 to me, definitely a level. We go a little bit lower, break below into that 104.30 area, come right back up, bounce off of this VWAP and come back to reject once again 107.26. I don't know why this is a level, but to me this seems to be a level. I think what could be interesting as well is what we do at the 90 MA, currently around that previous resistance level at 106.65. Say it with me, confluence. So I want to see what we do here. I think this could certainly get interesting. I think there's always the potential for continued higher highs and higher lows, but I do think that this 107.26 could get extremely spicy if we have a break above there. I also want to quickly look at ANVS again for Brad Aldman, not to be confused with Sam Altman, but Brad Aldman, asking if there's any levels that I like on ANVS. I think, to be honest with you, Brad, given how much halting there is, it's a little bit harder for me to give you a clear level. I like that we're holding above the 90 MA right now, just below VWAP on the 5-minute chart. However, in terms of the clearest level I see as a potential area to watch out for, look at this little break we had on that move to the downside right around $10. That's key. It's near a whole dollar level, and it's also a $10 level, right? So I think if we do break above the VWAP area, I think that $10 level could be a skosh spicy for A to the N to the V to the S. Hope that helps. What are you looking at? Trying to take another bite out of the apple there.
I don't Elon, man, he's so funny. He X'd. How are we saying it now? Is it X'd or is it tweeted? Like, what's the actual verb of the action now?
He X marks to spot. I don't know.
Don't mess with Tesla.
Don't mess
He's so funny. Yeah, don't mess with, yeah. I don't know. All right, I'm long Apple, 20 pennies in the money on this. Look, the idea here was quite simple. Apple's been defending the 50 period on the 5 for whatever reason all day. I don't care why, as I typically don't care. But this is the red line is the 50 period, and every single closing print has closed above the 50. So I put a dip trade at the $0.25. We got filled. And if we could make it up into 174.80, that would be aces. That is the volume weighted average price. We haven't made too many VWAP retracements. There's only been really one here that took place at 12.05, essentially since we broke down below VWAP at 11.05. So I'm not too optimistic. We'll make it into that 174.80, but if I can get something maybe in the 60s or 70s, we'll wet our beak there. It did move up, I think, into like 50s or 47s or whatever. the range is really tightening up here on AAPL. My line in the sand is going to be the break of the 50s. I'll give it like 2 pennies, maybe 2 pennies below the quarter dollar, 2 or 3 pennies, because you really haven't had any decided breaks of that. So we'll keep eyes on Apple. I shorted NVIDIA earlier because it also was rejecting off the 50. We did well on that, but look at what it just did now. So NVIDIA does look like it is reclaiming the 50. It just made a newer high. Look at these 2 double tops over here, 1115, 1120, that all topped out at 873. We're right back at that level, 873 again. Can we break and hold above this 873 level? Is going to be a quick wick, and then right back down we go. We've been putting in higher highs and higher lows here on NVDA for a little bit of time, but this level here is staring at me in the face because it is a price action resistance level, 873 on NVDA. You okay?
Yeah, no, I was just looking at the chart.
Okay, I thought you were contemplating life there for a second.
I was like, way too deep. I apologize for the confusion.
No, you're
just
good to go, girl.
Charts.
You're fine. I was confused.
Thank you for checking in.
Yeah, it's all good. The Tesla, it did now reject the Dara off. Essentially, it was 199 touch. It was technically a 198.87, and then down with the viciousness onto the 10 period here. So is this an entry on Tesla? I mean, it hadn't touched the 10 period since 11:35. So it's the first assault on the 10 period since for an hour. So we'll see exactly, does it hold up here at this 10 period? It's not a price action resistance level or support level, excuse me. That will have to take us down into about 193, where we had that double top earlier. That's really the only price action support that I can see. So I'm going to wait here on Tesla to see exactly what we get.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you want to make sure that you're, take time to, I was trying to come up with a Tesla pun that I couldn't come up with. That's why I was dilly-dallying there. I don't have one right there.
All good.
But that's okay. Right now, I'm looking at clean spark because I think this could be a clean short off this level. Look at that resistance we had earlier, 1840. Then we push above. Now look where we're seeing a little bit of a pause, a little bit of a dip below the 90 MA. I like 1840. I have not been able to get filled. I've missed it by like a penny twice now, but I still like this short idea. I'm not chasing it though. Make no mistake, we will not be chasing clean spark. Don't go chasing waterfalls. I don't want to, we're going to give this stock a little bit of TLC. We're going to keep an eye on it. We're going to see what it does. But I'm not going to try to force it. If we don't come to my level, we don't come to my level. That's all fine and dandy. Peachy keen, insert whatever antiquated phrase you want to insert there. This Tesla actually looking interesting. So on my side chart, what I see too is A, we bounce off the 90 MA. B, we bounce off that earlier area we were dancing with, that 196 level. If we keep holding this for a potential bounce, let me look at my TSL. Let's look at my Tesla. So that on the Tesla is going to be this 952 area. I like this. I really like this. The only thing is I need to think of a stop that I'm appropriate with. If I get into 952, 954, and I get out 947, I could probably live with that. I just want to make sure I have all my risk to reward areas cultivated and planned before I get involved. Chef Joe saying, enjoy it, shorts. You deserve a piece of this pie to the Tesla short. So I'm guessing you were printing on that long there, Chef Joe, cooking up a tasty
Print,
trade.
baby.
Congrats to you. This has been, this is, what a market today. There's been so many fun opportunities to trade. Excited to take advantage of some more moves, mainly hoping that Clean Spark will spark a little short for me right now. I'm not looking at much else. What about you?
Nothing. Just tried to take a quick 195 dip there. Or sorry, not 195, 196 dip there on Tesla, but it didn't. Are you short? The Katina man now is out of his Tesla position. Are you going short now? No, he's not. He's not going short. So he hasn't flipped the script on the trade. So shout out to the Katina man. I'm gonna guess and say that was a $14 winner at the top, 198.87. So essentially 199. The Katina man got out the entire thing at 196 break. Shout out to him. That's one hell of a trade, bro. Say it again. 1065 at the top there for the Katina man on his exit on Tesla. So we're gonna go ahead and do this.
Now you have the power to spin it.
Yeah, I know. I was showing Sean. I sent it to him on Friday, and I sent it to Adara. It was like me harassing Sean to spin the money. And I'm gonna send this to you, Ram, if we could play it, because there's obviously no copyright infringement here, because it's us. I'm gonna send it to you after because this is like, I don't even remember when this is from, dude. What year is this? Hold on, let me find out here. This is from August 12th, 2021. Wow, so it's more going on
Almost 3 years.
Yeah, almost 3 years ago. I love it. And what were you trading, Sean? So let me see what positions you were in, dude. Yeah, I know. Well, it has the, okay, so there's no, you can't see your positions here because they were running the, it was like a news headline. You did, but it was a news headline at the time, yeah. Man, yeah, it brings back memories, man. I've been somehow connected with the show for like years now. Anyway.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I love it.
That's awesome.
At Darrow, we did get that 50-period rejection yet again, or not rejection, but we didn't really close with the vigor on NVDA. Oh, what I should say is we got that 873 rejection. So we were talking about that 873 level as an area of important resistance owing to this double top over here in the crest. So we put another crest there and reject it, come back down for a nice $3 short, I guess, off that. But don't forget, we're still putting in these higher lows, right? So the higher lows and the higher highs are still in play, but we have that 873 as a local area, of resistance. I did take out my my Apple trade there at the top at 174.46. So happy with that trade. We ended up taking 25 pennies on that one. All right, so some other stuff is curling up here that we should be taking note of. I'm talking about you, Amazon. Amazon is close to that 180 and 2/3. That's where the volume weighted average price is. And when you see what Amazon did last time around at VWAP, it did reject it. So that's another interesting possible short here, 180 and 2/3 on the Amazonian. Good curl also for Meta after printing newer lows. We did break 430, a bit of a double bottom there at 429, let's just say 1.5 and 1/4. I know it got lower than that, but that general 430 area does seem to have some buyers stepping in. Now we're coming into the 20 period at 432 and rejecting, right? I'm gonna be looking for this area over here, 433, 432 and 1/4. That is the previous area bottom. If we curl into that area, I'd like to take a short for Microsoft. If that area doesn't hold, if we don't hold up at that 433, 432 and 3/4, I'll be looking at VWAP, which is 434 for a short on Meta. So I'm short biased today on these names. I'm not really sure why. We're still up 1/4% on the NQ, but I am short biased. And there goes NVIDIA. Wow, $4 off the top there. It touched 869, 873 double top on NVDA there.
Yeah, that move down chased me out of my sock sell long. I was long sock sell. I still got out where I wanted to. I want to make that very clear. I risked about 8 pennies. I got out, lost 8 pennies. We were holding that 40-24 area really nicely. I get involved. We have a little bit of a move up. Then NVIDIA has the move down. I get out. We can come back and hold it, but I'm not going to have FOMO. I'm going to have JOMO because I'm happy that I executed the trade how I wanted to execute it. So stay with me, please, this punch. Can't complain there. Jay Lee saying that 998.87 looks to be Tesla top today, hoping for a bit of a quadunk. Still short, average into it, winky face, so I'm not too far behind. Shout out to you. I know you were talking about that short earlier in the chat. So, and I think one thing too that I think adds a little bit of spice to the short side is I was mentioning I was interested in getting long if we had that bounce off that 196 area. I know you mentioned that as well, the 196 on Tesla. And Tesla did not bounce. Tesla's still to the downside. Now 3 red candles in a row, and talk about a bearish engulfing. We engulfed 3 green candles with 1 big red candle on TSLA. So talk about range per candle. To shout out to Sharif is in there. That is massive. And I want to say as well, like your range per candle trick has really helped me because it shows you how much volatility or how much bamboozling you have in a trade. Because if your range per candle is massive, then that's going to be a very volatile stock, especially if it's within the body of the candle. If it's within a wick basis, that's still pretty bad. But if you've got a volume of a candle, we opened here, we closed here, that is a very active stock with a lot of volatility.
Right.
You might want to be keeping your eye on. But speaking of volatility, I haven't looked at her in many moons. Let's take a look at Mademoiselle Lily, who we know brings the volatility. And I want to look at her because we have earnings for Eli Lilly tomorrow morning. So I wanted to check that one out. Volume exactly 1 million shares right now. I'm not getting involved in this in the live. No. But I did want to take a look at it just to kind of see how it's doing heading into earnings. We had to move up into that 739 area. lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Now though, we're getting kind of spicy. We broke above that previous support area, 733. Now we're kind of near that earlier area of resistance at 734. I want to see what we do here. Let's look at the daily chart. To see, Lily's been on a bit of a downturn lately. We've been below the 9 EMA for Miss Lily for quite some time. We had this big move down on April 9th. Since then, we've been pretty decidedly below the 9 EMA on a closing basis, though we are seeing a bit of support here on the daily at the 725 level, also where we had a little bit of a bounce earlier. So I think this could be an interesting level for Lily heading into earnings. I want to see if she can take the support that she's formed here, the basis that Mademoiselle has formed at 726, and turn that into a bit of support here. I'm not involved in this name on a personal account basis. I just really enjoyed day trading it when I was in the sim. So I just wanted to give Miss Lily a bit of a shout out ahead of her earnings tonight, because we know she can bring the volatility and also currently has a 40-cent spread. I saw you in and out of Amazon. How did that go?
Got stopped out. Tried to short at the volume weighted average price. It kept going, so took a 10-penny hit on Amazon there. It's continuing to go up here, so I'll have to see exactly what it does at 181. That's where the price action resistance was, but alas, volume weighted average price, not a current area of support for the Amazon. So I'm going to keep my eye on 181, but it did put in a fantastic little low there in, not low, support at the Friday closing print. 179.63 was a hell of a level, so keep your eyes on that. It is putting a bit of a topping tail candle through VWAP here, so that could have been a quick bamboozling trade. All right, so keeping an eye out on things here on the Amazon. I like this short, man. I'm getting back in. I'm getting back into this short on Amazon.
Do it.
Yeah, I am. I like this short at the volume weighted average price. We'll see exactly what we get. If I get cut up, I get cut up. It's kind of on me at these prices. We'll see what we get. We'll put our beak wetter at over here. We'll see what we get. All right, what else is at VWAP? Not just Amazon at the volume weighted average price. It's the soft one as well. Right back into 401.69 is MSFT. So a lot of stuff's curling up here, as I think the market may have taken, I don't know if it really has taken 17 now. We put in this bottoming tail candle right into VWAP, and then we shot right back up, but it is awfully consolidated, and we haven't really printed anything above 17,915. That's a 1030 high there, or local high, not the actual high. The local high that we had. So interesting look here on the future, as you know, it's not really selling off. Go down, Amazon. All right, nice avenge trade there on the Amazonian. As we got pushed out of the earlier trade, we get right back in and fight with this monster, and we're about 13 pennies in the money. All right. Is Tesla finding support at 195? I mean, I'm not going to want to jump too quickly into it, but I'm just going to say this to you guys, and you guys do what you want with the information. It is now holding up at the 20-period EMA. You heard me talk many times. When something is very strong, the more shallow retracements are into the 10. The deeper retracements often are into the 20. And we have now a double bottom hold up at 194 3/4. Hold up. And then we popped right back into 195.50. Not saying we're going to curl back up and test 200, but it is something to keep an eye on. When something's super strong and it retraces superficially, it usually is to the 10. The deeper, heavier retracements go into the 20. So we'll keep eyes on that. Big Kyle Burdett tags me. Volume is hot garbage today on so many names. You're not wrong, Kyle. I mean, let's have a look here. Obviously, except for Tesla. Tesla's done a cool 165 million shares on the day. But when you look at like the Metas, for example, 12 million. Microsoft's done 10. So yeah, I see where you're going with that. We'll wait to see exactly what the end of the day brings us. But what have you been trading today, Kyle? I saw you dropping hot lines about the SPY in the chart. I'm seeing a lot of fist bumping over on my left side here. So I'm very intrigued to see what's going on there. And I do see TSLA.
I took a Tesla short.
Atta girl.
Yeah, because I know you mentioned Tesla long, and then that's also
There
what
you
I was
go.
like, I'm not sure, but the reason I took it, my impetus for taking this, we were below the 90 EMA, which we know is a level I like. We also did fail. I was really watching that 196 area on Tesla, which is going to be about 190. What's about 191? It's about 953 on TSLL. So I was going to risk about 4 pennies to see what we did at 3 to 4, 952, 953. We didn't even get there. Took about. I took exactly half the position out here at that previous base you talked about, 195 on Tesla, going to be 194. Again, not a 1, 942.
I do that all the time.
On TSLL, appreciate that. So I like this level right now. If we can't get below this, I'll take everything out there. I have no qualms, but I'm really happy I took out half the position. I'm happy I decided to just take this. It was a bit of a riskier trade, but you know, don't messle with Tesla, as Elon said something very similar. Don't mess with Tesla. Happy that I decided to mess with Tesla here. Please just punch him out of this trade. Peter Sun saying that out of the Tesla short. Yeah, that makes sense. I think this support that we have coming at 195 could get a little bit dicey. Congrats to you though, and Peter Sun, for taking some profits on that TSLA short. Hopefully Tesla will continue to give us some opportunities. IBIT also I'm still looking at. I was really proud of this trade here. Just took it at the base, took about 10 pennies, got out, continued to go to the downside. Now we're rejecting off 90 a minute.
You got a bid out of IBIT?
Yeah.
I'm going to do it to you now.
I like it. Yeah. I got more than a bid out.
Hey, all right. Well, that's even better news. All right, I'm flattening out my Amazon short there. We'll take 20 quick pennies on that monster. That again, really all that it was a VWAP rejection. We got shaken out the first time around because we had too tight of a stop, quite frankly, and then got even. I don't know.
Avenged.
Avenged. I know. I just don't want to repeat it, but I see it's probably more apt. On that trade. I'm still looking at Tesla, man. 195 is staring at me in the face here, and it keeps yelling my name, Sharif, Sharif. Yeah, I mean, the 20-period moving average is a good looker here. Now, I'm not inclined to want to put my my stop right below 195 because it is wicking below 195. So let's see what we do here on TSLA. I mean, obviously, you know, one thing in my mind right now is, Sharif, you're late to the party, right? But then again, we'll see. I mean, I'll just wait a little bit here. I think if we do hold up at 195, I'll have time to at least take a retracement, maybe a trade into 198 or something. But if I do jump in a little early here, I am risking whatever my stop is going to be. And I literally have to give it to the trough low. I can't give it to 195. That's not where the price action suggests. I'm going to have to give it to 194 2/3 because that's where the low is. And I don't even know if this ends up being the actual area low if we curl up, right? It could just be one of the lows. We break down maybe 194.50 and then we move up to 198. I'm not going to jump into this. I need to see more. But it is a trade that I've got on my radar. No question about it. All right, the soft one did curl into the volume weighted average price. It's rejecting, but it's not really giving you any big room here. So the volume weighted average price is 401 2/3. I mean, the best retracement you got here was 401 1/3. That's not bad, but you likely probably didn't get printed on that easy because of the spread on Microsoft. It's a little wider. So let's keep an eye out right now. That is the third 5-minute candle rejecting off 401 2/3 right now on Microsoft. The previous retracement into the volume weighted average price did result in a rejection, but second time around could be completely different. So we'll keep eyes on that. What else we got here? Oh, so Amazon continuing to head down there, breaking the $0.50 level, 108 1/3 now. Sorry, 180 1/3, excuse me, on Amazon. So we'll keep eyes on that as well. All right, so we did give up 17.9, or so it seems. A bit of a rounded top right now on the future. Look at this rounded top. That's not good. Coming back into the volume weighted average price, we'll see if we find support there, but very sideways day today on the future. You're not really getting that much room. I mean, the high side after the bell has been kind of 17,915, and the low side essentially 17,845. So less than 100 points worth of room today, definitely on the future. Yeah, very interesting stuff here. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I'm out of the Model 2. I just put that in the chat as well. I am out of my Tesla. Please just punch. Took about 4 pennies with the rest of the position because I noticed we were kind of coming back to my point of entry, and I said, Adara, just get out. You are scalpier, just be scalpy. So I scalped out, please just punch. I was really happy with where I got out half this position at that 942 area. Happy with how this trade went. Now ready for the next opportunity, which is going to probably be focusing on taking IBIT every time we bounce off that 90 EMA. I did miss it a couple times here just because I was looking at the Model 2, looking at that Tesla, but I'm still keeping my eye on IBIT. But also TSLA, I want to look at here.
Unreal, bro.
Jay Lee saying long-term Tesla holders probably saw the 198 top and now drop under 195 and will get out while they're still near the top, in my honest opinion. Heading back to 185 or 180, in my honest opinion. Yeah, I think right now this 196 stance is going to be really key, I think, Jay Lee. I think this is that we're getting to that area, right? This is crunch time. This is where things will happen. This is where we'll have to see if we have that roadster move 0 to 100 in under a second. But I really want to see what happens. Shout out to 420 Bud Monster saying, you and Sharif are keeping me awake in this boring market. I mean, happy to hear it. Shout out to you. Hopefully you are having a great day. Also, Eclectic Passions. I'm going to read the exact comment. Saying, what is the creature between you and Sharif? Is that a Quadunk? Her name is Trenda Ticker, the trading turtle. This is her. Shout out to Ramin for putting her on our desk. And she is, like, you know how they have the bulls and the bears for Sean and Neil, and those will really show you for moving up or moving down. Trenda is just here for all trending tickers. So shout out to Trenda. Nice times there. Tesla, if we keep rejecting here, I might get back in this short. I'm happy I got it where I did, to be very clear. Make no mistake. But if there is another short opportunity and I see something I like, I do want all the smoke. I will get back in. Probably not going to get back in right this second, though, because we are getting close to 1 o'clock, which is when we will repeat that lesson. So I want to make sure that I am ready for that and ready to wait. Yeah, shout out to Bears versus Bulls as well here in the chat. World's greatest moderator. And shout out to you. Also, yeah, this IBIT really coming into fruition for me. Some people mentioning Oracle, though. So let's see what we're seeing here in Oracle. What does the Oracle foretell? Oracle, okay, this is interesting. I thought I saw some news with this one with AI, I believe, earlier. ORCL, Oracle Corp. No, so just Microsoft Sympathy plays. Oh yeah, sorry, on Thursday they announced new AI capabilities within Oracle Fusion. So nice look there. Generally lower highs, lower lows for this one. We had a bit of a flat bottom break at that 116 level, all the way down into 115.90. Then we kind of curled back up here into this 116.25. Now we're trying to make a higher low. So this could be a nice reversal here, but of course I think that the main key area is going to be what we do with that 116.20. We know resistance and support can flip-flop, so previous support can become resistance. I would really love to see what we do at that level. Two Photisks saying, asking me how I feel about changing the side of my positions as it gets later in the day or slower expected moves. That's a really good question. I'm going to be honest with you. I only trade during the midday, so I'm doing other stuff for the show all other times. I trade during this 3-hour period. So everything I do with regards to trading is going to be during this 3-hour period. What I will say with regards to my position sizes, and I've said it in the past, it's all going to come down to what my plan is, how confident I feel in my plan, and how I want to disperse the trade. So for this Tesla, I took a little bit more than I would normally take, within reason, of course. It wasn't like an unmanageable position, but I took it because I knew I wanted to take some of the position out if we got to that previous base at 940. Or 942, sorry, on my TSLA. Then I saved a piece of the dream to see what we did after that. So I think for me, my position size is always going to have to do with what I'm seeing on the chart and how I want to play that trade. That being said, if it's a more volatile time of day or a more volatile name, I might take a little bit less with regards to that. Also, 240SX, like the old Nissan. Thank you for explaining the pronunciation of your name there, 240SX. Much
Was it
appreciated.
the Nissan at the time? I'm pretty sure it was the Datsun.
Oh.
Yeah, because Datsun was like, I think they bought it. Nissan bought it.
Oh.
Hold on, it was two. I need to find out, man.
We're going to find out.
Yeah, we'll
but
find out.
Speaking of cars, apparently Mullen's going. Shout out to Neil saying this in the chat. Some other people as well. Stan, I think Sebastian was looking at this one earlier. Talk about a flat top break. Not even a flat top break. We just kind of came to this area, scooped. We got above into that 455. Then we bounced off that 445 area top earlier, continuing to the upside, bouncing off the 90 MA. So this is a very nice look here for M to the U to the L to the N. Yeah, nice look for Mullen. Was it the Nissan or the Datsun?
So can you believe that they actually have two variants? So the Nissan is called the 240SX and the Datsun is called the 240Z. They're a little different, but
So
they're
it
the
is the
same
Nissan.
company. Yeah, it is a Nissan. That's actually accurate. Shout out to you, man. Good times there. All right, guys, let's get to some of these trades because look, I missed a trade here. I kept talking about this Meta possible short if it came back into that bottom area low. That's that 433 area, and then look at the aggressive retracement by Meta at this area. So price action low takes us right back down off that level. 433 is a bit of a resistance level there on Meta. Now, I also want to mention that Apple is retracing possibly into 174 3/4. That's where the volume weighted average price is. So we took Apple long earlier at the $0.25 because it is ranging between volume weighted average price and the 50 period. And that has been sort of a rinse and repeat trade since about 11 this morning. So going on the better part of 2 hours now, Apple has been ranging in between this area. So I'll be looking to short Apple at the volume weighted average price, but Tesla right back off 195. Here comes 197 or thereabouts. 196.5. I mean, I wanted to get into this. It was curling up. It held the 20, but I just didn't want to take the risk on this name, so that's my problem. We'll keep eyes on that. What else is moving here? So the only trade that I like currently that I'm going to set up for is Apple short at the volume weighted average price. Nothing else. Let's flip some of these small cappers here to see how they're doing. We've kind of neglected them. DNA hasn't been tradable since we talked about it last. Neither has Holo. They're both below VWAP at the moment. PAC-B, though, look, it's not giving you that much in terms of range. This is going to be more like a, what's it called? A buyout trade because the range on PAC-B is bupkis. AGEN also tradable, but really unpredictable in its movement. And a lot of topping tail candles. And it's really not coming off anything predictable here. Let's see where okay, I guess maybe the heavier retracements are all coming into the 20. As we typically say, the more superficial retracements coming in to the 10. If you wanted to play this name, sure. It's not really my cup of tea, AGEN. The one that is really moving, though, is the one that Neil mentioned. MULN, knocking on the door of $5. And I don't know if someone's going to open or not, but right now, new high a day, $4.99. Here comes $5. Decisions to be made here. I don't know. Neil, is this a pay for shorts? For sure. So it is a pay for shorts. $5 now, high a day on Mullen, uninterrupted to the high side. When we talked about Mullen to start the show, it was actually below the volume weighted average price by a skosh, not by a lot. Skosh. Right now, it is finding a bit of a top at $5. For how long? It probably behooves us to look at what the daily resistance levels all know. All right, so in case you're wondering, Mullen has been allergic to the 10-period moving, the 50-period moving average for as far back as this chart will go. And this is, I think, as close as we've been to the 50-period ever since that 1-to-100 split back in December of last year. So the 50-period on Mullen on the daily is 541. So if we break $5 here, 550 or 540, 5 1/3, something around the 50 period here would be a very interesting short. Just saying. So keep eyes on Mullen. It's done very well in the day. Does this have a catalyst?
Yeah, so it did. So there was it's one of its vehicles, I guess, is eligible for this incentive in California for EVs. So the vehicle cost is $68,000 and $45,000 of that is eligible. So that's a really nice look there.
Not bad.
For yeah, I don't think you have to mull over that too much for Mullen. Seems like some buyers are mulling over that car. So.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that is interesting because I think that makes them a lot more marketable. No question about it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I really don't have anything else, guys. What are you guys watching? I see. I'm looking at my scanner to see if there's any new small cap gappers showing up since I talked about it last. Looks like that $5 right now is a level of resistance, a bit of a topping tail candle right now on Mullen. As it breaks down below 80, looks like it's knocking the door of a $0.75 retracement there on Mullen. Not a good look. Well, we'll see. I mean, it could be a good look. Who knows?
Yeah, I got a bit chopped up an I bit, but we're still up on the name and we handled it okay. I said I wanted that short. I waited for that short, worked out for a couple seconds. We broke above that little wick area at 35.85. I said, bye-bye, I bit. I said, bye bit. And it said, yeah, cool. Good thing you got it where you did, because I'm just going to keep going to the upside. I don't know why I made it sound like a gangster from an old Hollywood film. But I bit continuing. I'm so sorry.
I love it. Did you watch a lot of movies this weekend? What's going on?
Did I?
Yeah.
Did I? Did I? I don't even think I did. No, I went on a walk. I got some. I always watch some Law and Order, so maybe that's what it was.
I know.
Because Law and Order, the old Law and Order, there are a lot of gangsters.
Did you finish the Toronto one that you said it was really bad?
It's still going on.
It's still bad.
It's still bad. I have to say, if I may, this is my version of football.
Go for it. Yeah, do your thing, girl. Yeah.
As a Law and Order connoisseur, specifically of Criminal Intent, which is the spin-off that this Law and Order is explicitly based on, I don't think they knew Law and Order well enough to do that.
Wow, that's a statement.
I love Law and Order Criminal Intent. They did not have the formula down pat. It has a very specific formula. They have it close. They have not perfected it.
So they're butchering it, in other words.
A little bit. I just think as well, I feel like there's a lot happening off screen that we're not seeing, because they're saying things and I'm like, when did we come to that conclusion, man? I have been paying attention. But yeah, so I mean, it's cool if you want to look at Toronto. I think it's a fine watch. I just think as a Law and Order fan, it left me a little wanting.
Fair.
And so was IBIT, but IBIT continuing to the upside now. Whatever, please just punch that I got out where I did. Still a bit up on IBIT. How are you doing?
Short Apple at the volume weighted average price. Stop is already in. We'll see if it ends up rejecting here. It's rejected on every previous occasion, so we'll have a look and seeing what's going on with AAPL. Let's put the beak wetter at the requisite position to get it out. All right, Sebastian, Sharif, tomorrow Bayern against Madrid. Who you cheering for as a gunner? Well, brother, I gotta tell you, I'm not gonna cheer for Bayern. I know that there's that whole thing that you gotta cheer for the team that eliminated you. I don't subscribe to that philosophy. I'm gonna boo the team who eliminated me because I'm bitter about it. That's the reality of the matter. But I don't think I'd be as bitter as a Liverpool fan. Because now, for all intents and purposes, they are now out of the title race. It is now a two-horse race. He's going to throw something at me. He's going to throw something at me, I can tell. No, don't do it, Neil. He threw something at me. Thank you, Neil. You made... Look, it's not officially over yet, but anybody who saw what happened on the weekend with Mo Salah and Jurgen Klopp, they got into a little bit of
Really?
Yeah, they got a little bit of an argument. It was pretty animated, which really doesn't happen all that much. That's what happens when things are going back, says Neil, and he couldn't be more accurate. Anyway, so it is a bit of a two-horse race. City really, they did well yesterday, beating Nottingham Forest 2-0 at home. Forest played really well, but City's a beast. And then Arsenal 3-0 against Tottenham. We let them come back 3-2. Come on, David, right? Anyway, we beat Tottenham. And yeah, I was really happy about that, obviously, because that's a North London derby, and I hate Tottenham. So do you understand how close their stadium is to us? We're talking about like 1.2 kilometers.
Oh, you could walk that.
Dara, these are not like small stadiums that house 15, 20,000. They're both 60+ thousand stadiums, and they're all within 1 kilometer. It's so off-putting.
Ridiculous.
It's very not North American to do that. Obviously, in England, they do way different because they have like 20 teams in a city. Yeah, London has a lot of teams, I'll tell you that. Anyway.
That's wild.
Printed right there on the short right now on AAPL as we took that one at 74s. We'll see if it makes its way back down to the 50 period. The 50 period on my chart, I believe, is in the low end of the 30s, 174.31 or thereabouts. We'll see if we get a nice move there. But Tesla bamboozling everyone. Looks like Jay Lee was right out. Shout out to Jay Lee. He said, in my humble opinion, Tesla's short at these levels. And Jay, if you took that, you're well in the money, my friend. Tesla breaking down aggressively below the 20-period moving average. And here comes 193. Keep your eye out on this area top over here. This was the pre-market top, 192, excuse me, and a half, or around 192. We'll see exactly where Tesla ends up finding support, if it does find support at all at these levels.
We'll have to see where Tesla stops Tesla. But also, it's really funny because right as you said that, Jay Lee, right before you say it, comes in the chat saying, just saying, Tesla short is like $5 winner so far off the top. So the timing on that was just amazing.
Bang.
You two were in sync. Also, I did not realize I was short IBIT. I am not short IBIT, so that is a typo on the screen. I just want to clarify. There is no part of me that is an IBIT right now. Not even a bit is an IBIT. So I just want to put that out there. I did get out the entirety of that short. So just to put that out there. But yeah, what else is happening here? We're going to get to the lesson, so I'm going to get that started. But also, I had to call this out. Kyle Burdett saying, did a 5K one time. I think that's like 48 miles or so. At least it felt like it. Shout out to you, big Kyle Burdett.
Big Kyle.
Hopefully you're printing. It's certainly been short season a little bit here on these markets. And thanks again for calling out Microsoft to all of us earlier, because that Microsoft below VWAP was a little bit interesting earlier today. More than a little bit. That was a spicy look earlier today. But also, you know what else is spicy and certainly relevant this week with all of our earnings?
Oh.
The gap and go strategy.
What a segue.
Thank you. I tried. Sometimes the segues are very messy, but sometimes they work out. Let's talk about first understanding gaps, because gap and go strategies, this is a popular technique because it can help you capitalize on price gaps, right? Between the security's closing price one day and its opening price the next day. But how do you do that? Well, gaps are going to occur when the opening price does not follow the usual trading pattern. And we'll show you some examples of that in the next slides. But there are two main types of gaps. And of course, there's a lot of subsidiaries of these gap types, but here are the main two types. Gap up. So this is when the price will open significantly higher, because there's also things called common gaps, right? We don't want like a couple percents. We don't want scrubs. We want significant gaps between the opening, the previous close, and the current opening. So the gap up is when the price will open sharply higher than the previous day's close, suggesting bullish momentum. Tesla today. Then you also have a gap down, which is when the price will open significantly lower than the previous day's close, which suggests bearish momentum. So here are some examples. This is one here. We have the gap up on the Nifty 50. Nice little move to the upside here. And by the way, these charts, I do not make these. I find them online. Shout out to TradingView here. So this is just any example, right, that I think is a nice look here for the gap up. Also in the Nifty 50 on the one-day chart, here's a massive gap down. So it does show, it's basically a significant change in momentum overnight. These usually will more often than not occur with A, some type of catalyst, or B, it could be also a sympathy play, right? We had a lot of these other EVs move to the upside off of the Tesla news with regards to its full self-drive having its way paid for a little bit in China, right? So some regulatory things clearing up in China for full self-drive potentially. So that's kind of how these gaps up and down work. Is usually a catalyst or a sympathy play or an overall market move, but those are usually going to be less significant gaps in my experience. Why does these gap plays work and why do they occur? Well, the gap and go strategy basically assumes that the price movement causing the gap will continue in the opening session. So if Tesla has positive momentum, you generally will expect that the momentum will continue. And given that Tesla is currently up about 15%, even after falling down a little bit, I think that can be a fair point to make, right? Again, this isn't a rule, it's guidance, and it shows how things can sometimes work. Now let's also talk about some examples, right? So you could have a positive earnings report that could lead to a gap up, or a positive catalyst, and you'll have traders anticipating the price to continue rising on this move. Identifying gaps is also something, of course, we want to talk about, especially if we're going to talk about trading them. How do you find them in the first place? Pre-market scanners are always going to be your friend. Shout out to Trade Ideas. That is how I help with the watch list. I'm always kind of looking and scouting to see what's gapping up, and is it gapping up on volume? Because volume is also going to be key, as we'll talk about in the next slide here. You also want to look for stocks with sizable gaps, around 2 to 4% in the pre-market session. If you've got a gap of like 0.17% on very minimal volume, that's not really going to give you the juice you need. You want a nice meaty, like a nice maximal move, big move with something behind it to really suggest that continued momentum. Because if you don't have the continued momentum, it kind of defeats the purpose of playing the gap.
Okay.
It's a gap down, a bullish signal, says Trish OD. Usually that's going to be a bit more bearish, right?
I responded.
Oh, sorry, you did. I just noticed
no
that.
worries.
Thank you for that.
I figured you were busy. We're doing the lesson.
Yeah, I just noticed that now. I just looked up because I saw the tag, but thank you for answering that. Teamwork is dream work, and also confirmation is key. So because not all gaps are created equal, so you want to look for additional confirmation of the trend. Particularly volume is going to be a huge one. Higher trading volume, I find especially higher trading volume during the pre-market, because that's the people contributing to the gap. The gap forms in the pre and the post-market, right? So if you see that intense action in the pre-market with volume, that can really suggest this gap could have some meat on its bones, could have come to fruition in a nice way. This will strengthen the move's validity. News and events, of course, catalysts backing up your gap. If you have a gap with no news or no catalyst, even if it's like a sympathy play could still kind of be a catalyst, right? If you have an EV moving up on sympathy play or Chinese names moving together on some kind of news, right? That's all fine. But if you have something moving on little to no news, and that's where these small cap gappers can get a bit scary, that's what you want to watch out for. Here's an example of a gap setup with volume. I love how this chart says gap and go on electronic arts. So we had this candle, a little bit of a weak sauce candle, then the next day we open up significantly higher. Look at that volume spike. Then we see relatively high volume as we continue to the upside. So that is a gap and go setup. Nice look there for EA. Entry and stop loss also certainly worth noting here as well, right? So let's talk about the breakout entry. You might want to enter the trade after the price breaks decisively above for gaps up or below for gaps down. A key level like the pre-market high or low, or like, you know, a closing level of previous opening level. That's where I know you talk about pivots a lot. Sharif looks at the pivots, and those are some of the levels pivots are based on as well, right? Like high, low, close. So those are always levels you do want to keep an eye on. Stop loss is always, of course, worth noting, especially for these gap-related trades. You might want to enter the trade after the price decisively, always have a stop loss order in place to limit potential losses. So place it below the gap for long positions, gap up, or above, the gap for short positions, gap down. What about taking profits and exiting? So there aren't any hard and fast rules for profit taking. Maybe you want to do a bit more scalpulation, as I always talk about. Maybe you have a really key level, but whatever you do, make sure it works for you. And here are some guides to keep in mind as well. You want to set a realistic target price or profit taker based on technical indicators or chart patterns. You also might want to do what Sharif does it more than me, beak wetting, taking out some profits along the way on your little trek to the upside as the duck waddles up or down based on this gap move. Volatility, you also want to keep an eye on how volatile things are. You might want to secure gains more quickly in a volatile market. Trailing stop as well you can use. I know Neil will use these a lot, talk about those, so shout out there. You can see the big kahunas once again in just 44 minutes. You might want to gradually adjust your stop loss to lock in profits as the price moves in your favor. But you always want to remember the risks of trading, especially the risk of trading gaps. So I don't know why I said it like that. So some risks include false breakouts. So the price might not continue in the direction of the gap, leading to losses. It might be a fake out. Also, a trailing stop is of note as well. Sometimes the price could reverse and fill the gap entirely, negating your trade. The strategy is best used for more experienced traders who are comfortable with intraday volatility and always practice paper trading. As somebody who paper traded for months, I can tell you it does give you a lot more confidence, and it makes you more comfortable trying new things when you trade live. So shout out to that. I see someone pumping his fist. Are you pleased as punch?
No, I'm not pumping. I was like trying to hit the key, but yeah, I think I did one of the Adara things there. Look, I got short on NVDL, not NVDA, because it did break out of that range, but then I did get stopped out it did come up into the range. So I got short here on NVDL, but it's continuing to go. And so I'm looking for a possible move by NVIDIA into Friday's closing print just above 877. I think the technical closing print is 877 in the third. So if we continue up here on NVDL or NVDA, I'll be looking to play it through NVDL. We'll put a beak wetter over here to possibly take some profits if NVIDIA continues to move up. But this could be a fake out breakout, no question about it. So I have to be cognizant of that and the possibility that NVIDIA is a bit of a monster. So I can absolutely get in trouble with this one. Keeping an eye on this one and whether or not it makes it into 877s again or thereabouts. Now, the other trade that I want to look at as well is a possible Meta VWAP retracement. Look at this over here on Meta. So this has been a bit of a local area top. 433. We kind of bottomed out there in the earlier part of the trading day. We came right back into 433 and then found resistance at this level, and then you got a 430 and a half touch. But That was a higher low, believe it or not, 430.5, and now we're coming right back into 433 again, possibly coming into that 434 general area where the volume weighted average price is hanging out. But it looks like, yeah, we might be topping tail. It might be a fake out breakout here on NVDL. So I may end up getting in trouble with this NVDL trade. I'm long 37s. Okay, so we're coming right back down now. I'm going to try to pack my patience, and if this one breaks the bottom, this area consolidation top, I'm talking about 37.21 or thereabouts, then I'll look to get out of it. Otherwise, I'll see if it wants to retrace back, possibly into 877s. I could have got absolutely stuck in this trade. I think that was the whole idea, to get people stuck on the range breakout of that 873.25. Let's call it 873 range breakout. We'll see. We're still at 874.4 now on NVDA. The other one that's coming right back into a possible level here, and that this one I traded in the sim in the morning when I was doing my charting, 400 possibly again here on Softy. We did break it earlier on. When we came right back down to it, we held it. So the low there was 410, 414. So that level ended up holding on this dip. Didn't hold on that one, though. You would have to give it room. But yeah, we're awfully close to another possible 400 touch here on the soft one. So we'll continue to see that. Okay, so NVIDIA right back into my entry. Happy about that. So wasn't an immediate fake out breakout here on NVDA. Let's see if we can get into those highs. 877.98 is technically HOD on NVDA. I don't anticipate, or I shouldn't say I don't anticipate, I don't expect us to touch highs, but if we can come into Friday's closing price at 877 1/3, I think that will be good enough to wet my beak on some profits. So we'll see if we can continue to ride this one north. I'm taking NVDL instead of NVDA. All right, sorry, not Softy. Meta is at VWAP, guys. So it did break that top at 433, and now we're talking about a 430, almost a 434 touch here at the volume weighted average price. So we'll have to see whether Meta can kind of switch up on us, being, you know, down into the right, lower lows, lower highs, below VWAP all day, and then possibly switch up. It does look like it's encountering some resistance at this level here. Meta at VWAP, important because it has been weak all day, and you could be looking to play this one. Not sure how everyone else is looking at this. So we'll keep eyes on that. What else? We're at 17.9, but I don't expect a break up or down either way. We've been awfully consolidative on the future all day, and I'm not going to sit here and guess whether or not we're going to break. Bless you, Neil. I mentioned Meta was at VWAP, but it's not the only one at the volume weighted average price. The Amazonian has also weaseled its way back to the high there, but be careful with the Amazonian, because whether or not it respects VWAP is kind of an unanswered question, but it does respect these price levels. So we'll see if it comes up into that 181, whether it's able to break it. It's only 16 pennies, 10 pennies now away from that as it really starts getting moving here. It looks like Amazon may be changing its tune just a little bit. It broke through this double top. Now we're going to have to see whether it can take that 181 1/4. Well, 181 first, and then we'll see about this 181 1/4. Nice move on some of these Mag 7 names here. They're all pamping to the high side. We'll see if NVDA can join them in the pamp so that we can print a little bit here, Adara. We're nicely in the money on it now. Nothing really to write home about, though. But I'm seeing a marked change on a lot of these Mag 7 names now. They're all starting to curl up here as the future. I don't want to say the future is holding 17.9 because that's not a fair assessment, but we're right back into those local highs. 17.910 to basically 17.917. Let's see what we get. Bang on NVDL. So we do get that long. And let this one go, baby. Let's see if we can break the high a day right now on NVIDIA.
I like that you politely asked it, like, oh, if it was, let's see if it wants to join the other Mag 7s in the pamp.
Right?
Yeah, pamp it up. NVDW for Sharif there. Not an NVDL on that one.
Oh, no, true. Yeah, it usually is an L.
Oh, I didn't mean it like that. I just meant
the ticker is an L, though, right?
So it's an NVDW. I took a baby L on my TQs, and I say baby L because I'm really proud of how I managed this trade. We got short. I like that we were rejecting that 55.85. And even as after I got out of this, I only risked 6 pennies. I was completely happy with my risk management on that. risked into that little previous top at 55.90. We got in with the viciousness. I got out. Now we're kind of seeing a little bit of resistance, if you will, below this 56 area, which we already resisted once here with this very bullish looking looking candle at 12.35, this doji, and then we also, that was that high earlier, right? This 56 area. So at 10:30, I'm gonna have, well, not the high of day, mind you, but that was a high we popped into earlier. So I'm gonna keep an eye on TQs. Right now, though, the apple of my eye is not Apple. I set that up poorly. It's actually a firm. Look at this gorgeous little range.
Interesting.
She's so pretty. Base, I got really excited about this range. I love ranges. The base of this is going to be around 33.40. That's not perfect. We've gone a little bit lower into VWAP. The top of this is going to be around 33.50. The thing is, this is getting really tight. So the risk to reward, it has to be also really tight to respect that. I'm keeping an eye on my side chart. If I see a nice little point of entry, I'll get involved. It's a trap, says Neil. So I'm going to be cognizant of that. I want to wait to see if I can see things confirmed before I get involved in a firm.
Oh, wow.
So that will have to be the goal for that. Someone was mentioning Unity as well, so let's take a look at you. That one's reporting next week. I don't remember what day next week. I'll have to check on that. Unity is a nice move as well. This actually is better probably than a firm.
You got to get that.
Because look at this. We have this like area. I mean, to be fair, range is also about 10 pennies, so you still have to have that tight risk to reward. But I like this kind of curl to the upside. I like our attempts to break above this 25.05 area, an area that we also wicked into and then closed down from. We're decidedly above VWAP. If I take this with enough shares, this could be spicy, but I don't also want to overdo it. So Unity, I think you're going to replace a firm on my side chart because I think this is I feel a little bit more united with Unity than I felt confirmed by a firm. Bye, firm. Bye, girl. How are you doing?
We're pamping here, baby. All right, there we go. Nice little 20-penny winner on NVDL. As NVDA, I said I would do this. It came right into Friday's closing price. I didn't say yesterday. You thought I was going to say yesterday. No, that was not yesterday. Friday's closing price, there it is, 877 1/3, and so we'll take out the remaining balance on NVDL. NVDA, though, getting a bit of a pump there. So initially taking an L on this because we tried to go short. Recall just like a few minutes ago, once we got into this area over here, which was a local top, this 873, let's call it 873 top. And then, no, not this time around. We're not going to hold up there. 5 green candles in a row on the 5-minute. Now we are breaking above Friday's closing print. We're awfully close to 880. We just printed 878.09, 880, the $10 level in view. Is 880 an important level? Well, if you looked at the pre-market, you wouldn't think so because we danced a little bit above it, a little bit below it. We didn't consolidate at all at that level. But I would suggest to you that you should always be looking at the $10 level, whether or not it manifests into anything, an entirely different story. Just have it in your line of sight. Right now, it is coming right back down, though, NVIDIA below Friday's closing print, so we'll see whether or not we get that sustained move. The future also moving. So these local tops that we had put in earlier, last time around, where did we get? We got into 17,913. That was a top. We're printing 19s right now. The highest local one was this one, 916. So as I said, we just printed 919s. Again, it's not really that much farther away from these tops. So, you know, you could definitely get another top at this area. That is, unless we really get away from it and close above it. So keeping an eye on the future, we've been very rangy. A little bit above 17.9 and a little bit below. To be fair, though, the future did hold up at the Friday closing print, 17,845. I think that was an overnight closing print, not the Friday close, or was it Friday? I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, that's the closing print, 17,845, and we bounced perfectly off it here at 11:35. So, okay, so it does look like we are headed up here on the future as we continue to get a little bit farther away from these local tops. Good look on the futures, and you're getting some confluence with the Mag 7. Look at NVIDIA go. Here comes 880 on NVDA. You're also getting the Amazonian finally breaking through the volume weighted average price on a closing basis. There you go, curling above that level and curling above the local area top here at 180 3/4. But We still have this 181.25 area with which to contend. That is the price action area from around 10.15 till around 10.35. So we'll have to get above that really before we look at that level in our rear view. And then the dead one, Apple, finally making its way above the volume weighted average price. It hasn't for quite some time. It is not on a closing basis quite yet. In fact, you know, the bamboozlement here could be real. It could definitely be real. I would say look for a 175 closing print. Forget about VWAP here. 175 and VWAP are too close. And look what happened. When we got above VWAP from, say, 1050 till around 1105, we were doing wick shimmies from the south side of 175. So I need to see 175 close here on AAPL on the 5-minute before I'm interested in getting long. We definitely have a target there at 176, and we could even blow through 176. That doesn't mean 176 has to be the top. It's the morning top, fine. But the power hour is the real deal as well, and there could be positioning into Apple going into power hour. First things first, I need to see it close about 175, and then might be interested in getting long Apple. We've traded it well today, but using a range trade strategy, not a breakout trade through 175. Donnie Zimbabwe, my man, I saw you spamming the chat today with all these different super chats. I feel bad. I'm like, wow, Donnie's just banging out super chats. Thank you again, Donnie, $4.99 super chat. Shout out to you, my man. SoFi might be finding life. Side note, so glad I exercised, not closed, those NVIDIA 830 and 840 calls Friday. Just made 11 grand.
Wow.
Are you in the loaning business at all or anything like that? No, okay, fine. That's cool. Shout out to you, Donnie. Please, this punch for you. Shout out to you, man. Doing it through the option strategy. Let us know exactly how that ends up going, whether or not you are going to participate again in any NVDA calls. Shout out to Donnie. Couldn't be happy for you, my man. And when you print, we're happy.
Yeah, we print together. It's a great community to be a part of because you get to see what different people are working with, what's working for different people. And shout out to you on that NVIDIA success there. I mean, yeah, certainly happy you were NVIDIA for that, I'm sure. So nice look on that trade. Also, Pretty Panda mentioning CGC. So yeah, I saw you mention this earlier. I apologize, I didn't get to take a look. So let's see how what's smoking in CGC. Do we want all the smoke? Let's see. Yes, Pretty Panda saying, CGC, thanks for playing. See you at 790. This is, yeah.
What's going on over there? What's going on with that microdosing over there?
This nice little bounce. So shout out to Ramin for like the best tea life hack ever.
Love Ramin.
Oh my gosh, like this was amazing. I had like, it was like a bit of like a chai tea espresso type move. Shout out to Ramin.
Chai and espresso, that's Ram's drink. A chai tea.
It's about how you mix it too. Well, she said English breakfast. I did chai, but basically you have to like get everything ready at the bottom of the cup as well. So like your milk of choice and your like sugar, whatever sweetener you're gonna use. Then you put it in the tea bag. Then you put the tea, so everything already oscillates and mixes together. Then you add the espresso.
Fantastic.
And I didn't even, yeah, so shout out to Ramin for that. I'm gonna, I wanted to give her a shout out because she's killing it on the board and she's also killing it with the tea recommendations. So
I like it.
Go Ramin. Also, yeah, this CGC, this is a nice bounce off the 90 EMA. We had a bit of a triple bounce, I want to say, on the 5-minute 820. Nice move to the upside. No, Kyle Burdett, I am not having the THCT. But shout out to you, big Kyle Burdett. Hopefully you're making some big wins. Also, Surya was mentioning the difference between, I want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing, USO and natural gas, two different stories being played out here. So let's take a look first at USO and then see what we're doing at UNG. USO down about 1% right now. Yeah, this is quite the move down here. This base at 79.35 is quite strong. We bounced off of it a plethora of times earlier today from 10:30 to 11:30. So for a good hour, then we make a lower, this is a good chart, we make a lower high, and we also do so off of that earlier area that we had a little bit of support, that 79.95 clearly showing up as resistance. I want to see what we do if we come back to the 79.35 here, because that was a massive base earlier. If we can't bounce off of that earlier local top at 79.50, we're going to have to wait and see what occurs. Let's look at UNG now, because you did mention both. So UNG You're right. Yeah, two different stories being played out indeed. UNG continuing to have its uptrend, but kind of struggling a little bit here since about 12:35. Now we're starting to see lower highs. We just had a massive dip down, a massive volume. Is there any news coming out here on UNG? Because I'm not really seeing the same move echoed across the board here. Let's have to wait and see. This is quite a wick down. Let me look up what's happening here on UNG. Not seeing anything right now. If anyone's seeing anything that could explain that move down in oil or natural gas story, let us know. Shout out to Donnie Zimbabwe, $4.99. Be happy to share my recent trades with you guys. I'm up 72,000 this month. Options I'd love to share with y'all what's been working for the show. Yeah, shout out to you. Thank you so much, Bobby. Donnie Zimbabwe for that $4.99 super chat. We always like to hear from everybody and what's working. So yeah, shout out. That's an excellent trade. I'm just getting out of Unity right now because this has been less excellent. I want to talk about this trade. But yeah, thank you so much, Donnie, for sharing your success with all of us, because it's something we all want to hear about. And yeah, thank you for the super chat, for the support for the show. I was not united with Unity here, unfortunately. We did have, and I kind of saw this before I get involved. I was like, we're kind of struggling here. Maybe we'll flip to the downside. We did. I risked about 5 pennies. I lost about 5 pennies. C'est la vie, still up on the day. And it is, I have to say, one of the hardest things is to not trade with your P&L. Because I had a good day, and I was like, I don't want to take some trades and jeopardize it. But if you like the setup, which I did at that time, you have to get involved. So even though I wasn't united with Unity, I'm happy to try to take the trade. Where's the next trade, as our pal Obi says?
Obi.
How are you doing?
Yes, I just watched the dead one absolutely put a fake out breakout through 175. I'm talking about you, Apple. We just finished talking about this 175 break and take, and Apple doing its best to really bamboozle everybody. Don't say I didn't warn you, though. This 175, we said it had to be taken on a closing basis. It was just too close to the volume-weighted average price off which to base a trade. And in addition to these 175 tops over here that we kept doing the topping tail candles into, they were also a little bit of an indicator that this 175 could be met with aggressive selling. You don't know what kind of shorts on the other side of 175. I mean, there's a lot of bets being made in the options market as we speak in anticipation of the earnings release on Thursday. And if those options have to be covered by the market makers. So you don't know how many put options are being bought right now on Apple in anticipation of earnings, and you know that may have to force the market makers to take the take the other side of that. So we'll keep an eye on Apple, but the one that's really making a difference here, and it's showing a completely different tune than the tune that it had all morning, is AMZN. Look at that move through the volume-weighted average price at 180 2/3. You had initial bamboozlement, a retracement right into the 20, but then that booming buying and the volume surge as well that came with that, especially at this candle here at 130. Right into 180, 150, so it takes you away from all the resistance levels that we had been encountering on the day. I'm talking about the volume-weighted average price, and I'm also talking about this 181 area. We're well away from that now. In fact, I'd be looking for 181 to be acting as a level of support. So if we come back down into 181, I want to see if we bounce off that level or thereabouts. So we'll continue to watch that with Amazon as it really changed its look just recently. Yeah, Apple, man, what a bamboozling trade. Look at that. So where'd that go up into? 175.12, right back down into 174.60. What a bamboozling trade for Apple. But if you're looking at getting into this name, look how many times we've bounced off the 50-period moving average on the 5 on Apple. I've had many trades off this today on Apple. All have been profitable. 174.40 or 174, just a little bit above a third, is where the 50-period is on my chart. Looks like we're awfully close to that now as we're about to break that 174 half dollar. I'm be looking possibly here for a dip trade off the 50-period on Apple, topping tail candle or not. I mean, that's still a support level. And by the way, there are higher lows here on AAPL. The other possible trade to be had here, look at this. Okay, so I don't know about this Tesla trade. So right now, we were kind of putting in these lower highs here on Tesla, but I'm not really inclined to want to be too bearish on the name. as, yeah, that might be a recipe for disaster. I was thinking possibly to short the pop here into 195 and 2/3. That is the top end of the range, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think maybe Tesla's getting its feet under it. Look for a break and take of 197. If it breaks and holds on a closing basis above 197, I think that we have a trend change, and this was, you know, the retracement in Elliott waves. We'll do a week on that again. So, you know, usually you get a couple of periods of retracements here, especially on stronger moves. We'll keep an eye on that. What else we got going on? So Meta, we were talking about Meta changing its tune as well. Possibly, though, still weak on the day as it's coming into the volume weighted average price at 433 and 3/4 and finding some resistance. It is trying to break above it now in that 434 territory. So if Meta keeps going here and gets above the volume weighted average price, where do we encounter or where do we look for resistance on Meta? I'm going to say 437. Look at all these different topping tail candles we had here essentially from 10 o'clock till around 10:55, all going into 437 and selling off. It happened to be the 50 period at the time that it was selling off at, but I want to see if 437 acts as a level of resistance if we're able to take the volume weighted average price on Meta. Okay, I mentioned this about Amazon, 181 possible defend. Here it is, 181 now on AMZN. So let's see if this level now, previously a level of resistance, acts as support at these levels. Adara, I'm gonna be watching here for a possible dip trade.
Yeah, I think there's lots of dip opportunities. I'm looking for a dip on TQQQ.
I like it.
I'm already ready to go. I have my order ready at 56.01, so I'm just very excited about this trade. If we dip below this 55.95 has kind of been my area, so we're going to risk about like 5 pennies. I'm okay with that because, like I said, I feel like my trades have been more successful because I've been risking less today and then also later last week. That's kind of the strategy I need to stick with. Last week I was a little bit bamboozled, but I said to the market, you know what? I'm just going to come back harder. You watch out, market. Wait for me on Monday. So I'm ready to continue to fight with this market. Also, not fight with, sorry, work with, avenge. Work together with this market and make sure it doesn't chop me up too badly. Also, I think it's paramount that we talk about Paramount ahead of its earnings today. And also given, speaking of bamboozling, this company and that ongoing Sherry Redstone, David Ellison dramas.
I know.
The CNBC article I read today about it was describing it like something out of Succession. And honestly, I don't disagree. Also because the guy who wrote and created Succession, Jesse Armstrong, did state that the Redstones were one of his inspos. So not even joking. It wasn't just the Redstones. I think it was also the Murdochs and the Maxwells, but I know the Redstones are part of it. Anyways, I think it's certainly interesting, one with regards to Bob Backish maybe getting ousted ahead of these earnings calls. I need to see if there's any updates on that. Bob Backish, No, I'm just seeing an update on the deal, which is New York Times reporting that Skydance is offering Paramount a $3 billion cash infusion. The terms of the new deal would provide Paramount shareholders with an investment to pay down debt and buy back stock. So that's also key because I know apparently individual Paramount investors were not a fan of the initial terms of the deal. So that could be a nice pot sweetener, not just for Sherry Redstone and co., but also for the investors that were a little bit skittish about this earlier. Paramount right now in about a $2 penny range from about 4 penny range, 12.31, 12.30, all the way up into 12.34. I don't know if I want to take this because the range is so small, but I think it is a nice resistance area to play off of. And I say that because look at that support area we had earlier, this drop and bounce at 10.10. That is the base of this little baby range.
No trouble?
That's a spicy, no trouble. I mean, we're going to have some trouble tonight in Paramount earnings. We're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, I will always try to volley back a pun. Never
I know you do, yeah. And you're a good sport about it too, so.
Good sport, pun intended.
Oh. Okay.
Anyways, I'll stop now, but I am looking at Paramount. How are you doing?
Yeah, I see you, Big Kyle. Bob Backlund, shout out, cross-face, chicken wing. Big Patty Ice is smashing it too. The Katina man knows exactly what I'm talking about, but he's busy right now. He's focusing on these trades. I use that reference. I know you did. I always know who you're talking about too, and not a lot of people do. I just don't like what he did to Bret Hart. Remember he would like torture Bret Hart in the cross-face chicken wing? Yeah, man. Yes, the submission match? Be in? Yeah, the sharpshooter. The sharpshooter, exactly. I don't want to be in the chicken wing, dude. Yeah, I don't know. It seems a little deadly. And the way he would scream, too, when he put you in the chicken, like, It's like, why are you screaming? The other guy's in the hold. Anyway, got into the Amazon at 10s, looking for the 181 defend. Already wet my beak there on some profits on AMZ, and looking for another possible hold here above 181. This is what I was talking about. We talked about 181 being out. There it is. Nice move up there for Amazon into the $0.25. 181 was a clear area of resistance. We look for previous areas of resistance, to act as support once they are cleared and taken. We'll see if this one can keep its footing under it, or if it's just a wham bam, thank you Amazon, and we got to get out of the trade. So keeping an eye on that. The soft one as well is curling right back into that volume weighted average price here. So this could be another possible short on Microsoft at the volume weighted average price. Has been very dead lately, but it's had predictable levels. That $400 level has been a predictable dip trade. I mean, in the more liquid time of the day at the open, it did break it. It went to $399.19. But if you had a stop on this that was anything more than $1, you were fine. And then here, when it dipped right back again to test 400, 414, we got down to 410 on this candle. So if you had your resting order a couple of shekels above 400, you printed, and now we're right back up into 401.5. But alas, we are at the volume weighted average price, and every move into the volume weighted average price subsequent to this candle over here at 10:30 has sold off. And this is the only candle to close on the day on Microsoft above VWAP. This one on the 5-minute chart. That's right at 10:30. So we'll see if we can possibly get another short here at 401 on 2/3 on the soft one. Wet my beak on some profits there on Amazon. Happy about that. We'll see if that one can continue to go up. Where are we here with Apple? So Apple did do a bit of a bamboozle trade. We talked about this 175 break and dump. Now can we get a 175 break and take and hold above it? We didn't quite make it down into the 50 period on that rejection, that fake out breakout here on AAPL. Closest we got was at 174.50. The 50 period was at the third of $1. But here we go again. We're about 17 pennies, 15 pennies from 175 again here on Apple. Does Apple break and hold above 175 in the power hour when that more aggressive volume starts coming in? All right, the soft one is now at VWAP here, 401 and 2/3. Decisions to be made here, but the future is near days, well, local highs definitely for the future. So a little concerning to get short anything right now for me anyway. So I'll have to think about this one.
Yeah, I was trying to get into a dip buy in the Qs, but I was not chasing waterfalls there, so I decided no, stick to the patterns of the charts that you're used to, Adara. So I said no to the Qs for now. SoFi though, shout out to Omid for reminding us about SoFi. SoFi down 10%. This is one that initially was trading higher. So that's a massive move down there on SoFi. Let's see how we go from here. Right now, things don't look so fine for SoFi. We are below the 90 MA, generally lower highs. This actually could be a flat bottom break, honestly, because it's not a perfect flat bottom, mind you, but we do have that flattish bottom around 7. That's a whole dollar area. Low of the day actually is 7 on the dot, so things could get very spicy very quickly for SOFI. Also, there was a mention of Apple here. Apple about to dump through the gap, asks Paula Blackford. Yeah, let's take a look at that gapple and see how we're doing on the dead one.
I love how you looked over to see like what my reaction was.
Well, no, just so I could tell you were sipping water, and then I felt badly.
What almost came out, man.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is the thing. This is a really interesting bearish look on Apple here, or on Gapple, if you will. This 174.85 area, look, that was around VWAP. We had a rejection earlier. We don't even get above VWAP here. Then we curl, we get above VWAP, and we have the tip into 175, and Apple's like, nah, I don't really feel like it right now. Continuing to the downside. We're trying VWAP again, and we did have a higher low since then, so who knows? We have actually, the other way you could look at it too, if you want to zoom out, is we have kind of had a curl up here starting around 1140. So I will say, Paula Blackford, it is kind of a bamboozling chart there for Apple. And if you look at the 15-minute, I wouldn't say it looks particularly bearish either. On the 15-minute, we're decidedly above the 90 MA. We're decidedly above VWAP on the 15, and also it looks a bit bull flaggish. So I would be cognizant. Oh, sorry, that's the 30-minute. Let's look at the actual 15-minute. 15-minute still 15 minutes still not a bad look. We're bouncing above 90 EMA. On the 15, we're slightly below the VWAP. But the point I'm trying to make is I would say take a look at these wider time frames, see if it's giving you what you like. That being said, especially on the 5, this does look weak around VWAP, especially below 175. So that is my take on Gapple, as we're now calling her. I wish I had a trade, guys, so I'm still searching, trying to find my sea legs and find a trade I really like. You know, market's not really sure what it wants to be when it grows up, at least for the things I'm looking at. I did like NVIDIA as a long, and I'm happy I didn't take it on NVDL because we did break a little bit lower here. That being said, if we bounce off that 90 EMA, coming into confluence with these earlier gusts of wind above that 37.40, this might get spicy, but I think we're going to be giving it up mighty quick. How are you doing?
Got stopped out of Tesla. Tried to take a 195 hold for a 196 break on Tesla, but it wasn't holding that level, so I got stopped out of that. That's a mistake on me. That was more of an impulsive trade, and that teaches me a lesson there as it comes right back down into 194.50. There does seem to be some support at this 194.50 for whatever reason, but who knows how long that holds up for. So I'll sit there. Why not? Who knows? Maybe it could go well, could go badly as well. So we'll see exactly what we get there. NVIDIA coming back down now. Shout out to Big Kyle because he said he was shorting at 878. Now coming down to 875. That area, that 875 general area, seems to be the 10-period moving average. So we'll have to see if that area holds up as a level of support. Meta having a whole bunch of trouble with the volume-weighted average price at these levels. Look at all these wicks into 434 or thereabouts, all rejecting VWAP, nothing closing above the volume-weighted average price. So Meta continues to reel after its earnings report. The earnings miss. Well, it's not really a miss. I mean, quite frankly, it was sold off on, I guess, really aggressive expectations for what the market was going to do. So anyway, we'll see here with the Tesla trade. All right, nicely. Where are we? Like only 15 pennies in the money on this Tesla trade. Let's see if it holds this 194.5. It did have a nice little area of support at the $0.50. If it breaks the $0.50, I'm gonzo off this trade. But if it moves up into 195, well, that would just be aces there, Adara. So nice move up for now into the 75 penny area. Let's see if we can get half a buck on this trade. We already got stopped out of it. So nice into 90s. Can we get more 90s, higher 90s here? Yes, we can. So we'll get a little bit out there. Happy with this trade on TSLA, but this is not the trade that I wanted to take, a range trade on Tesla that's up 15.85%. I'm thinking something here. Let me bring in the 5-minute chart because there does seem to be a whole bunch of resistance at 196 in the same way, or not 196, sorry, 195 2/3. I don't know why, but all these candles here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, all reject at 195 2/3, and then all these candles here bounce off 194.5. So interesting look here, about $1 and a bit worth of range, kind of unusual for Tesla to be trading like this. And keep your eye on the volume. It is making lower highs there on the volume bar, so the volume is dropping off. But I do suspect that we'll likely have a resurgence of volume at least into the power hour. About 9 minutes left until 2. The power hour obviously starts technically at 3, but the volume doesn't have to wait till 3 to come in. 194.50, a local bottom on TSLA. 195 2/3, a local top. Possible range trade to be had on that name. Okay, the soft one just took VWAP here, I think, for the first time. Now, if it closes at this in this way, this will be the first time Softy closes above the volume-weighted average price since 10:30. Good move up there on decent volume for Microsoft, breaking through 401 2/3, now knocking on the door of that 402 area. Wow, I can't believe I'm talking about such tight ranges on Microsoft. Usually we're talking dollars at a time here, not 10 and 15 and 50 pennies. 402 incoming here on Microsoft today.
The ranges have been tight today, and there's certainly been stuff to play. I wish I'd been playing some of these a little bit more strictly. Instead, I've kind of been playing the field a bit more, seeing stuff I like, getting involved. But I think one thing I have noticed is my most successful days have been when I'm looking at less names. I've been involved in the 7 names today, so that's probably a few too many for me. That being said, I am up on the day, and I'm happy with how most of these trades have gone. But it's something I do want to be cognizant of, is that I sometimes get involved in a few too many names, and then I kind of get lost in the sauce just a little bit there. Shout out to Obi and the lost in the sauce type thing. I'm going to get out of this now, depending on what we do here at this 9 EMA, because I do not want us to break below that. That was going to be my out. I was risking about 4 pennies or less. We're getting out. Okay, bye. Oh, no, I accidentally tried to add more. That's not what we want. Okay, we are officially going to be out. We should be out of these TQs, so that would make me pleased as punch, and I can take a look at some stuff here for some other people. Okay, TQs, what are you doing with your life? There we go. Are we out? Cool, we're out. Pleased as punch. Got exactly out where I needed to. It's not a winning trade, but it is. I can't be upset about it either because I did it how I wanted to do it. We broke below with the viciousness. I got out, lost 5 pennies there, was trying to make at least 10, so I can definitely live with that. Tobias Hernandez asked us to look at iRobot. This is a nice look indeed. Look at this. A bit of a rounded top fake out here. This tight little range. We get to 8, just shy of 840s. We break to the downside, but we don't break below VWAP. Pushing back up here, bouncing off that 9 EMA, so the base of that previous range, around 835s, continuing to hop to the upside. Now let's see what we do. We're having a harder time breaking 850s, and I have to mention the volume on this is not the best. We are just at 1.27 million, so not terrible, but certainly not huge. And this candle looking a little bit bearish now, actually. We wick up into high of day, 849s, then looking to actually break that support area of the 9 EMA. So these are a couple bamboozling candles here to keep an eye on. SPY sell-off, says James Choi. So let's certainly take a look at that with only 6 minutes until the end of the How to Trade show. SPY, let's see what we spy on the SPY. This is, the SPY sell-off. We just broke below the 9 EMA, but more importantly, we broke below that previous resistance at 510.20. Look at this 510.20 level.
Wow, yeah.
We are breaking below with a viciousness. This is pretty rough. Volume not super backing that up, though. Worth noting, I know Kyle Burdett was saying volume was a little bit more meager today. I believe that was Kyle Burdett. A couple people saying volume was a bit more meager. I want to see what we do at VWAP because we still do have on the SPY higher highs and higher lows. So let's see what occurs here as we continue to chop and churn around that previous resistance level. How are you doing?
Good call. I'm keeping an eye on Meta here, and then I saw in the chat that Katina Man said he was short Meta too. And this is the level that we were talking about. Look at all these topping tail candles through the volume weighted average price at 433, essentially 434, just a little bit below it. It's a $400 name though, so you're really going to have to, just consider that that level is the even dollar level or thereabouts. Right back down off a rejection of 434 down into 432 and 3/4. It is kind of the bottom end of this range. And the reason I'm not quickly to jump onto this trade is because we have a bottom area support area over here. This is the 940 to about almost 10 o'clock range, the bottom end of the range, where we bottomed out at 432 and 2/3. And then we come right back down that area after reclaiming it. Now, do we hold that level of support? So I'm not quick. I don't want to be quick to jump into this trade because I feel like we're accumulating here for possibly a VWAP retake. Now, you've had a number of other names retake VWAP, which is making me feel that Meta may join them. You have the Softy reclaiming VWAP on a closing basis nicely up here. Where is it at? Almost above 402 now. So Softy really going off the bottoms there at 400. You also have Amazon well above the volume weighted average price right now, and it looks like Meta is coming back into VWAP here. So happy I didn't short this name. The one that's continuing to show you a little bit of weakness though, despite what the future's doing, is this Tesla trade. So we were talking about this 194 possibly being a bottom, but look, we're rounding up here. We're rounding at the top end of the range. We're putting in candles that are lower highs. So we're kind of getting that rounded top like the Nos boss always talks about. The bottom end being really that 193.25. Keep your eye out on that. For Tesla. All right, that's basically my look at these Mag 7 names. I really don't have any other trades that I want to take now, especially with about 3 minutes left on the show. But yeah, Meta right back above the volume weighted average price again. So yeah, I'm gonna steer clear of this trade here. I think it may be accumulating for a VWAP break, Adara.
Yeah, I surprised myself a bit. I did take a trade into the end of the show, but it is one I really liked, and that's the Salk sell long. So I liked that this 90 EMA hold. I really like that look. This one's been a long all day. NVIDIA moving up a little bit. These two don't always move in tandem, but NVIDIA is, of course, a semiconductor, so it's always worth looking at what these two are doing, seeing if they're moving in the same direction. Right now, they more or less are, so I have no problem. I have no qualms about staying in SOXL, basically flat in this. And I want to say, too, this was an example as well of just trying to trade with P&L, because I was up on the day, and I was like, you know what, Adara, maybe don't take this trade. Just savor that you're up on the day. And it's like, if I like the setup, take it. I like the setup. I took it. Right now, a couple pennies in the money. Please, this punch. Going to take this at least until the end of the midday. Probably get out of it there. So got a couple minutes left. Thank you, Kevin Mendoza. Always happy to have everybody here. Jay Lee making a good point, saying that even though some of these Mag 7s are holding up pretty nicely, the rest of the market is a little bit weaker. So yeah, interesting point there, worth noting. There are quite a few weak names. Jay Lee also saying that he's surprised that IWM is holding 200. Yeah, the IWM was strong earlier. Let's take a look at the Russell. Oh, not the IQM. Let's see how the Russell is hustling. Oh my gosh, I did it again. Oops.
Every day
I did it again. Can't type IWM. But no, nice move here. Bouncing off the 90 MAs, the IWM up almost 1%, looking to take out that previous high on the day here. 230, you're right. There's like a swiftness and a viciousness in IWM that we're seeing even compared to those other ETFs. I can't believe we only have 30 seconds left in the day trade. You're in a trade too?
Yeah, I know. I just couldn't help myself with this meta trade here on the short. It keeps rejecting off the volume weighted average price. It came right back into that level. So I'm like, let me just try my hand at here. I'll put a tight stop above the whole dollar level, Adara. But I've already put my beak wetter for a possible move down. It'll test 433. Meta's been weak all day. It was weak last week as well, ever since it reported earnings. And there we go. We get the fill there on Meta as it comes right back down. So it is a rinse and repeat. Shout out to the Katina man for pointing out that Meta short. I got involved and I couldn't be happier. And we're going to end the show there.
Yeah, I just got out, lost a little bit in that SOXL, but I definitely did not lose my sunny disposition. A little bit down on the day, but never down on my attitude, and ready to take on the next day. We'll see you tomorrow, another day of gaps and goes. Same bat time, same bat channel. Right now, though, Brendan's at the big
Hey, guys.
Hey guys, yeah, welcome in. A couple hours left on a Monday afternoon here as the market continues to surf this Tesla wave. Pretty good start to the week for Tesla coming off this China news. We'll touch on that coming up here this afternoon. We'll keep an eye on a few other things moving around here. I was just noticing overall the dollar back downside today, reversing gains that we saw back on Friday. Big green candle on the daily chart Friday for the dollar. We're back in the red, so that's helping the market overall as well. There's Amazon, meanwhile. Nice gap higher this morning. Instantly fades that right back to Friday's levels. We've bounced off that 179.5, couple of